The coach of Spain, before he moved to the French capital, he's made 4 changes from the weekend, but a very interesting team selection. Donnarumma in goal, back 4 it is today of Hakimi, Marquinhos the captain, Skriniar and Lucas Hernandez, and then Manuel Ugarte, the Uruguayan, the 17-year-old Warren Zaïre-Emery, and then Dembele, Randall Kolo Muani, Mbappe and Gonzalo Ramos. Be very interesting, Chris, to see how those 4 line up.
Well, I'm looking at them now. Normally you can get a little bit. Dembele's definitely on the right and Mbappe on the left. For me, Ramos down the middle. I'm sure he'll play as a 10 Muani, but we'll see.
Enjoy the game, they say, over the public address system. Newcastle United playing from right to left in the first half, and Paris Saint-Germain get us underway, and after 20 years the Champions League is officially back at St James's Park. The match is underway. Newcastle in the black and white striped shirts, white shorts, white socks tonight. Here's Tonali starting on the left hand side with the midfield 3, plays it forward to Gordon, who couldn't take the ball into his stride, and Hakimi was able to take the ball away from him and clear it to the halfway line. Newcastle, here is Bruno Guimaraes. Unlike their Premier League shirts, Newcastle United with white backs to their shirts in the Champions League, red numbers on the back, and Paris Saint-Germain in the almost all navy blue kit, but with a big red and white stripe down the left side of the shirts. Gonzalo Ramos, the Portuguese number 9, is just suggesting there that I think Bruno Guimaraes had stood on his foot and taken his boot off, so he's had to place it back again. And Dembele playing the ball back into the central area to Manuel Ugarte, the Uruguayan World Cup player, and here's Marquinhos at the back, passing the ball out with his left foot into the path of Hakimi, and the Moroccan international takes it deep into Newcastle territory, uses Dembele on the right. Hakimi continues his run towards the dead ball line, and as the challenge came across from Cher, Hakimi slid into it, but could only shovel it behind for a goal kick. 0-0.
Well, it's a nervous start. I think even PSG have not started brilliantly. That was the first move down this right hand side, where they are very dangerous. Hakimi and Dembele link up very well down this right hand side, very clever players, but it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes for this game to settle. The atmosphere has been electric so far.
BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen as well if you're on the move on BBC Sounds. A number of matches being played, of course. Second consecutive night of Champions League action. RB Leipzig against Manchester City, Celtic against Lazio. No goals in those matches in the early stages just yet, but as soon as there are, we'll bring you news. As here's Dembele on the right hand side, the goal's already in the Championship, but Paris Saint-Germain with Hakimi again, just down in front of us, just in front of Eddie Howe, and then the ball back to Ugarte, and they go back to the halfway line. Swansea City have scored against Norwich City. Jamal Lowe has scored for Swansea, who have won their last couple of matches, and Leeds United have got an early goal against QPR. Crescencio Somerville scoring that one, so Leeds 1, QPR 0 down at Elland Road. 7:45 kickoffs those. 8 o'clock start in the Champions League. Donnarumma had to be quick there to pass the ball out from the back, and Anthony Gordon puts Marquinhos under pressure, but the Brazilian number 5 played the ball into Gordon, and it's behind for a goal kick.
Very calm play by Paris Saint-Germain. They've not panicked. They believe in their abilities, and you can hear the Newcastle fans when they stood off. They wanted them to go and chase them down, and they did.
As they play it out from the back, and mentioning Marquinhos' name, this goes to show in terms of Champions League experience, as Cher plays the ball over the top and it bounces through to Donnarumma. Champions League experience. The players on the field tonight, before this match, had a combined 82 Champions League appearances together. As the ball is played forward for PSG, but Nick Pope's able to back into his penalty area and gather the ball on the bounce. So 80 appearances for the Newcastle United players on the pitch now. Before this match, Marquinhos on his own had played 82.
Well, that just shows you, John. And you can see they're quite nervous, Newcastle. They haven't settled yet. Yes, they're working hard. You know, they're getting the crowd behind them, but they haven't put 3 passes together yet.
As Newcastle have the ball at the back, Cher to Bruno Guimaraes. Tonali, who's been on the bench for the last 3 Premier League matches, plays it up through the middle to Isak, who stretches but can only head it out of play. And Luis Enrique down there on the side of the pitch. Champions League winning coach with Barcelona. And there was a lovely moment actually when he was here at the stadium last night. He saw the bust of Sir Bobby Robson and took a picture of it and posted a selfie. You know, just a nod to Bobby Robson's links with his old club Barcelona. As PSG played out from the back, the French champions now through the middle. Here is the teenager Zaire Emery, does well, takes it deep into Newcastle territory. First time we've seen Mbappe on the ball, right-footed ball right across. Dembele, left foot shot, wide of the foot of the far post. Very, very close.
This is what happens, John. If Newcastle want to play high and press the ball higher up the field, these are capable, these players. Paris are playing around them very easily, and we're just seeing it there. That was a lovely move without any pressure on the ball. They tried to put pressure on the ball, Newcastle, but Paris just moved it so quickly. And really, Dembele, he's unlucky. It's a volley. Just went past the post.
Impressive first sight of Warren Zaire Emery there as well, carrying the ball from inside his own half. As I say, 17 years old. He's not 18 till next March. And here he is playing in the Champions League for Paris Saint-Germain. Made his debut last season as a 16-year-old. And very much part of Luis Enrique's plans. He obviously likes what he sees. And he's now started 8 of their 10 matches this season.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
He is.
You wouldn't say he was 18.
No, you wouldn't. I was actually looking at him before the game.
17, whatever you said.
He's 17 through the binoculars, and he does not look it.
He looks about 2 years younger than you.
Well, I think that's maybe stretching it slightly, Christopher. As Lucas Hernandez, the former Bayern Munich man, plays the ball down the left-hand side. But Newcastle go back to Nick Pope, who takes a touch, and Gonzalo Ramos was there or thereabouts, but that touch took it wide, and Nick Pope was able to clear it. Newcastle United 0, Paris Saint-Germain 0. Still RB Leipzig 0, Manchester City 0, and Celtic 0, Lazio 0. Newcastle carrying the ball forward, but the pass from Bruno Guimaraes fortunately bounces off Hakimi back to Tonali. Tonali infield towards Gordon, who is challenged, is fouled by Ugarte, and it's a free kick to Newcastle on the halfway line.
Well, you can see the experience they've got, haven't they? I mean, straight away there's a little bit of trouble. Newcastle put 3 passes together, and what do? Paris stop the game, little foul, get themselves back into shape. Very experienced.
Does feel such a big night this tonight. Early stages of the Champions League group stage, but this is full on and no mistake. Trippier to take this free kick for Newcastle. High it goes, very high to the edge of the area. Headed on, might into the path of Isak, but big Donnarumma comes out of his 6-yard box, lifts up one of those long arms and just claws it away from Isak and has it comfortably.
I've got to say he's one of the best goalies in the world in my eyes. I've looked at him for years now, and I think he made his debut at 16 or 17 for AC Milan, didn't he? And he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I mean, we talk about top goalies in the world, he's definitely one of them. Yeah,
16 he was when he made his debut for Milan, and now very much part of the Paris Saint-Germain scene. Keylor Navas is among the substitutes, having played for Nottingham Forest last season. Remember, I had to remind myself of that. Byrne with the ball at the back. Here's Bruno Guimaraes, low through the middle for Isak, who just got there first ahead of Skriniar, the rugged Slovakian defender, as the ball bounces all the way back to Donnarumma. PSG playing it out from the back. Ugarte to Marquinhos, who just stabs it forward to Hakimi, then back into the right back position.
John, Newcastle at times are wasting a lot of energy. I know the crowd's behind them and they want to go and press, but there's a time and a place, and the pressing where you think you're never going to get it, you're wasting energy.
You fear they might pay for this later in the game, perhaps. Just feel rain now on us here at St James's Park. We were told earlier today it would start at 8 o'clock, so it's 8 minutes late. Poor forecasting, that. Throw in for PSG, and Lucas Hernandez plays it back towards the halfway line. Remember him picking up that knee injury at the World Cup in the French first match, and being replaced by his brother, as Theo Hernandez and France went all the way to the final, and Kylian Mbappe scored that famous hat-trick in the losing cause in Qatar. Norwich City have equalised. Sarah has scored again for Norwich City, as he did at the weekend. So Swansea 1, Norwich 1. Ball back with Paris Saint-Germain on the edge of their own penalty area. Still no goals. In fact, no goals in any of the 8 o'clock kickoffs, I think, in the Champions League so far. Through the middle, the ball's flicked by Gonzalo Ramos, but onto the head of Dan Burn, who heads it out of play for a PSG throw. So let's see how things have started for Manchester City. They are in Germany tonight against RB Leipzig, and Alistair Bruce Ball is monitoring it.
I think we kicked off a little later than your game, John. 8 minutes in, it's 0-0. Phil Foden's just had the first shot of the game from range, and that was blocked on the edge of the penalty area. Manchester City playing in changed black kits this evening, and we're in the black armbands, of course, in memory of the late, great Franny Lee. It's 0-0.
Yeah, Newcastle on the attack. Tonali will go to Celtic Park in a moment. Tonali gets it back on the left-hand side and then back towards the halfway line to Cher. Touch to his right to Jamal Lascelles. Lascelles drives the pass high and forward. It's actually raining quite steadily now on St James's Park, and the ball's deflected out of play. It's Mbappe, off Mbappe for a throw to Newcastle over on the far side. So let's go inside Celtic Park and to Gavin Wallace.
John, Celtic 0, Lazio 0 at the moment. Both teams still trying to feel their way into the game. Celtic, though, really now starting to get into some dangerous areas. They've had a cross in. It's the best they've done so far. But now Celtic 0, Lazio 0.
Newcastle, misplaced pass by Dan Burn, and he apologises to Anthony Gordon. So while the ball's out of play, let's see how things have started between the Championship leaders Leicester and Preston, who are up there as well. Charlie Slater.
26 minutes gone, Leicester 0, Preston 0. Leicester on top, playing some lovely stuff. Navadivi down the left causing problems. Slipped through Kieran Dewsbury Hall, couldn't quite lift it over the keeper. Leicester have got over 80% possession, but it's still goalless.
Straight back to Glasgow. Gavin.
It's a goal for Celtic, John. A lovely bit of interplay just after you left me. It all started in the middle of the park. Kyogo Furuhashi was played right through into the box, and he'd stuck it well beyond Pedrovel in goal. Celtic 1, Lazio 0.
There we are, that's what Celtic needed. Brendan Rodgers, long forward for Newcastle towards the edge of the penalty area. Isak has beaten Skriniar. No, the referee has spotted an infringement there. Was that
foul push
on Skriniar?
Yeah,
so free kick to PSG. Yeah. The earlier matches, by the way, in the Champions League finished Royal Antwerp 2, Shakhtar Donetsk 3, and Atletico Madrid 3, Feyenoord 2, after Feyenoord were twice in front in that match, and that of course is in Celtic's group. PSG with the ball on the edge of their own box. Ugarte forward towards Dembele, who carries the ball deep into his own half and then slips it forward to Zaire Emery, and now it is Mbappe just to the left of the centre circle. Lovely footwork from him. He's so big now, isn't he, and powerful. He was so slight when he came onto the scene as a teenager, but now strong upper body. Kylian Mbappe, watching him from quite close quarters here tonight. Zaire Emery out to the left hand side. Lucas Hernandez. Now Nuani gives it away. Cheers from the Newcastle United fans. Isak in the centre circle. Little prod forward for him. Gordon. Tonali, nice touch from Tonali into the path of Isak, down in the full-back position against Hakimi. Nice, skips past him, still Isak, shoots low, takes a double deflection, but that took it back into the path of Gonzalo Ramos, who was back there, who was able to clear it away.
Well, it's settled down a little bit, Newcastle now. I mean, it's cracking atmosphere here tonight, and they're just starting now, Newcastle, to get a little bit of foothold in this game. You know, they've been chasing the Paris Saint-Germain players around the park for me the opening 10-15 minutes, but now they're starting to get a little bit of confidence about them, and they're starting to enjoy the football.
So Newcastle, after starting with the 0-0 draw in Milan that you might have heard on 5 Live in the opening week of matches, and Paris Saint-Germain, who started off with a home win against Borussia Dortmund. And it is Newcastle with the ball on the right hand side. Longstaff. Now he has Almiron, sets off on a run, but the ball deflects forward, but it might reach Isak. No, it's just nicked away from him by Ugarte, but that's given away by Hakimi. And Almiron's onto this and shoots from 22 yards, but it flies away high over the top of the bar and into the Leazes end for a goal kick.
Yeah, good pressure by Newcastle, and Almiron, who scored a cracker at the weekend, didn't he? Not this time, high over the crossbar, but Newcastle have actually started to settle and put a few passes together. You know, they've unsettled Paris a little bit. Paris had a nice little rhythm going.
It's Newcastle's first match at St James's Park in the group stage of the Champions League since March 2003, when Barcelona were here and Newcastle lost 2-0 and finished third in what was the second group in those days. Longstaff playing it through the middle. Almiron, nice turn from him. Ugarte dives in. Almiron goes down, and the referee, the Romanian Istvan Kovac, says that is a free kick for the challenge by the feisty Uruguayan Ugarte.
Yeah, he's having a go at Hernandez, I think.
And Hernandez comes across as well.
Well, I don't know why he's saying to him, but here he goes. I think he's let it go, I think.
Well, it was Ugarte's challenge.
Yeah, it was Ugarte.
No question.
But could have got a yellow, but he didn't.
Could easily have got a yellow card for him.
Well,
free kick then. So this is what, between 25 and 30 yards out, probably closer to 25.
He's got to have a shot, middle of the goal. Well, just right side of the goal, left side, sorry, going forward. He's got to have a go at this.
It's good position for Kieran Trippier. He's not scored for over a year, Chris. Kieran Trippier, he's due one. That was a free kick. That excellent game at the start of last season against Manchester City. So Kieran Trippier just stands next to the ball, 1 foot to the side of it, now steps back. Trippier, anticipation levels rise inside St James's Park, and Trippier drives this into the Paris Saint-Germain wall, and it rebounds all the way to the halfway line, where Longstaff volleys it forward. Tonali heads it on, but it just bounces through the Donnarumma.
Not a great effort, was it? I think he went for a lot of power there, and he's mishit it slightly straight into the wall, about waist height. But Newcastle have got themselves back in the game now, though. You know, Paris looked the better starters, more comfortable in possession. But Newcastle have put a lot of work in so far early in this game.
Oh, given away on the edge of the box. Isak! Oh, saved by Donnarumma. It comes out, and he's driven into the net by Almiron. St James's Park goes wild. They're back in the Champions League, and they're back scoring in the Champions League. And it's Miguel Almiron, and it's Newcastle United 1, Paris Saint-Germain 0.
Well, you've got to say it's a bit of a mess by the defence of Paris Saint-Germain, trying to play out from the back. They got caught out. What a fantastic save, by the way, by Donnarumma from the first shot from Isak, but the second one, Almiron reacts first, and it's a brilliant finish with his left foot across the goal into the bottom corner. Newcastle, as I said, John, 2 or 3 minutes ago, have come into this game, started to win the ball higher up the field, and they've been rewarded. Great finish by Almiron.
That's what they wanted. It's Marquinhos who gave it away, trying to chip it forward, trying to play out from the back, and that was really poor from the Brazilian. Headed forward beautifully into the path of Isak. As you said, Donnarumma made a superb save.
Unbelievable save, the first one, and what a great finish by Almiron, by the way. Side foots it across the goal, doesn't panic.
Yeah, lovely it was. And there we are. That's what St James's Park wanted. The rain's coming down. Nobody cares about that, and people are on their feet. What a reaction inside the stadium here. I mean, to say that it's come to life, that was not tell half the story. An amazing noise inside this place, and Newcastle 1-0 up on the French champions. An early goal, 17th minute. That is just what St James's Park wanted, and now they've got the taste for it. Bruno Guimaraes passes it forward, but it's blocked by Lucas Hernandez, out for a throw on the far side.
Brilliant. I mean, listen to the atmosphere. It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And Newcastle, as I said, last 5 minutes have really found their feet. They've actually got the confidence, they've relaxed, they're actually enjoying the football. I've got to say, John, no, I'm not too convinced about the shape of Paris playing 2 centre forwards as such. I don't see it fitting in.
So Luis Enrique might have to think about this. Somebody's brought him an anorak. He's got a hooded anorak, standing with his arms folded on the edge of the technical area down there. And Paris Saint-Germain have given it away again. Ugarte has passed it straight to Tonali. Luis Enrique turns. He does not look best impressed as PSG are able to get it back. And now here is a ball for Zaire Emery to run onto, and again he loves doing this. We can tell it already. He's carried the ball almost to the edge of the Newcastle box, gives it to Dembele. Lovely footwork. Dembele's ball across, comes off Lascelles, who's able to clear it back out to the right hand side and out for a throw. Dembele, who had that very early chance. PSG could easily have taken the lead with that, and then Bruno Guimaraes puts in the challenge. I mean, that was basically put a tackle in, knocked the ball out of play, and he went all Marco Tardelli. He celebrated it. It's like he's kicked one in from 30 yards.
He's kicked the ball out of play. He's only played 19 minutes.
Well, that just goes to show that emotions are running high, Chris.
Oh, very much so. You can tell that. And we're waiting for Paris now to settle again. They keep giving the ball away cheaply, Paris, but Newcastle have grown in confidence. Unbelievable.
As the ball is played back towards the edge of the Newcastle box. Formidable here on their home ground in the Premier League under Eddie Howe, just 5 defeats. Thing is, they've all been against the big players. 3 defeats to Liverpool, 1 to Arsenal, 1 to Manchester City. So very often the better teams have come here and been able to find a way. But generally, Newcastle's record at St James's Park during the rise under Eddie Howe has been very, very impressive. And now they're winning 1-0. Miguel Almiron, who has found his shooting boots, as they used to say, at just the right time of the season. That is 3 goals in his last 4 appearances now. But Paris Saint-Germain play the ball to Dembele. Dembele takes on Byrne, who goes to ground. He knew he was in for a race there, Dan Byrne, as Dembele flicked it past him. And he did his best there with 2 big strides, and then he committed himself, and he had to make that, but he did.
WWE, isn't it? Every time the challenge makes to get up and punch the air, it's like, wow, you know.
PSG with the ball on the edge of their own penalty area. So Miguel Almiron it is who becomes the first Newcastle United player to score in the Champions League group stages since Alan Shearer. Here's Hakimi bringing it forward through the middle. Now Mbappe centrally gives it to the left-hand side to Muani. Kolo Muani's ball crosses into the path of Cher, who's able to clear it away.
They still carry a threat though, don't they? They've got a lot of pace in the team, a lot of movement, technical players as well, obviously. They do carry a threat. Newcastle cannot switch off.
Just hearing some news that the Bradford City have parted company with Mark Hughes. So after 19 months in charge, Mark Hughes has left Bradford City after their defeat last night. I know that it was seen as quite something of a surprise move by Mark Hughes, but that's it. As Zaire Emery hits the shot, but it blazes away wide of the goal from 22 yards, but it opened up from there, and that's a warning for Newcastle.
Yeah, brilliant. One thing in his mind, he looks options to left and right, it's a bit tight, he decides to pull the trigger, and wow, that wasn't far wide. And Paris have come back in, they've responded well. Newcastle, who put a lot of energy in so far, have got to lift it again.
Newcastle United 1, Paris Saint-Germain 0. 5 Live from the BBC. We're also on the red button tonight. 5 Live final score is in action. If you want to listen to the 5 Live commentary alongside the graphics and the analysis and all sorts of other bits and pieces via the red button, via the BBC iPlayer and online, just click on 5 Live final score. As Ugarte is fouled down in his own right back area. Celtic winning 1-0 against Lazio. I imagine Celtic Park will be something like this tonight up in Glasgow. Kyogo Furuhashi scoring the opening goal for Celtic, their first goal in the Champions League this season. And what's happening in the RB Leipzig Manchester City match? Alistair Bruce Ball.
Well, Newcastle ahead with you. Manchester City really should be ahead in Germany. I'm not quite sure how Bernardo Silva missed a few moments ago. It was a misdirected Phil Foden shot. It ran to Silva. He was a yard from the goal line and just didn't seem to get the proper contact on it. So it remains Leipzig 0, Manchester City 0.
We'll go back to Celtic in a moment, but actually Lucas Hernandez misplaces a pass forward, and now Newcastle look to break forward. And here is the goal scorer, Almiron. Takes a little deflection to Isak. Isak dances away from a couple of challenges. Then back to Longstaff, who takes it back towards the halfway line for Newcastle. Cher, right-footed pass out towards the right-hand side, which is headed forward by Trippier. Almiron's trying to get there, and Marquinhos, knowing that he was right behind him, decides he has to just put it out of play, left foot behind for a corner.
Goalkeeper for me, Donnaruma's got to come and get that. He was protecting the ball for how many seconds, and he was looking at him, we're going to get this. Now they've got a corner to defend.
This opening, almost 25 minutes, has absolutely flashed by. I'm not sure anyone's actually sat down in the Leazes end for the whole time since they've been inside the stadium. Corner, Trippier to take it. Paris Saint-Germain have left Dembele up on the halfway line, just down in front of us here on the halfway line. Trippier waiting to take this. Luis Enrique doing an aeroplane. Trippier hits it low. Cher, right foot. Oh, so close. There were a crowd of players in there, and I have to say, I thought that was destined for the bottom right corner, but it flashed wide of the foot of the post.
Brilliant corner, great work. Few blocks going on. He just couldn't get his foot around it enough, John. He's got it. He's on line with the near post. It just scrapes the side netting, but well-worked corner.
As Newcastle continue to put pressure on PSG, and as Skriniar was looking to play it forward, it's deflected out of play by Almiron, and he is Mr. Energy in chief, isn't he, Almiron? He's like there is not a spare morsel of meat on Miguel Almiron's body. As the ball is played forward by Mbappe, now to Dembele, PSG in full swing. Dembele's ball back in field actually goes all the way back to Zaire Emery. Centrally, Zaire Emery, the number 33, square from him. Gonzalo Ramos shoots low. I think that took a deflection.
Corner.
It did. For a corner from the left.
Might have come off Lascelles, but it's a good effort. They still carry a threat down to Paris. I mean, we talked about the talent the players have got on that pitch tonight. Short corner. Don't get caught out by that. Mbappe to the byline, chips it across, but it clips the roof of the net. And they're saying that it actually took a deflection, which is why it clipped the roof of the net. And the PSG players are saying to referee Kovac, did you not see that? Well, maybe it did. Clipped this toe end. So we'll go to Celtic in a moment. Actually, first of all, news on RB Leipzig, Manchester City. Alistair Bruce Paul.
And Manchester City have taken the lead in the 25th minute. A brilliantly worked goal and a superb finish from the England international Phil Foden. 1-2 on the right between Bernardo Silva and Rico Lewis. Lewis is cut back into the penalty area. Foden timed the run beautifully, hits the shot into the ground, and it jumps up over the keeper's left hand. Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1.
The Manchester City game on Sunday away at Arsenal will be one of our 5 live commentaries this coming weekend. So back to Celtic, Gavin Wallace.
Still Celtic 1, Lazio 0. Lazio had a really good chance just a second ago. Kilo Immobile forced a fantastic diving save from Joe Hart, got himself inside to the box, he blasted it with his right foot, and Hart had to get down well. But still Celtic 1, Lazio 0.
As PSG win a free kick over on the far side for a foul on Randall Kolo Muani.
It's strange, John, the last 5 minutes. Mawani's gone out and played sort of left wing, and Mbappe's gone up front alongside Ramos.
Well, we did wonder, didn't they? How
they're moving around all the time now, but Mbappe's gone back to the left wing now.
This quartet of forward players for PSG. I have to say, coming here tonight, I expected one of them maybe to be left out, but in fact, Dembele, Kolo Muani, Ramos and Mbappe are all playing. In the Championship tonight, the latest scores: Coventry 0, Blackburn 0, Leeds 1-0 up on QPR, still Leicester 0, Preston 0, Sunderland 0, Watford 0. A rare night tonight when Newcastle and Sunderland are both playing at home on the same evening. As Zaire Emery for PSG through to Ramos, Cher comes in, good challenge, ball out for a throw. And also Swansea 1, Norwich 1 and Rotherham 0, Bristol City 0, the latest scores in the Championship. And actually Cher's come up.
Yeah, he's gone down. There's a collision. He's lucky, he times it just right.
I think as Gonzalo Ramos took it on, I think he might have just stepped on his foot as well, Cher's foot, as well as colliding.
He's on his shoulder.
That is not good news.
No.
Because without Botman, obviously, if Cher has got a problem here, Paul Dummett, who's played next to no football for 2 seasons.
Well, he's all right.
Okay. Well, let's just keep an eye on him, Chris.
You know, these centre halves are soft.
As Gordon deflects the ball out of play on the halfway line, and back to Glasgow. Gavin Wallace.
1 each. John, Celtic 1, Lazio 1. The goal coming from the head of Matthias Vecino. It looked as if Joe Hart managed to scoop it away, but the referee and his assistants ran straight back to where they needed to be, and that indicated the goal. Celtic 1, Lazio 1.
So Celtic pegged back. 1-0 to Newcastle. Almiron's goal in the 17th minute after an excellent save from Donnarumma, from Isak, fell to Almiron, right side of the penalty area, and as Chris Waddle said, it's a lovely finish on his left foot to put it away across Donnarumma into the goal. But here come PSG with Hakimi. Ball played by Dembele into the middle, but straight to Bruno Guimaraes, who drags it back, takes it away from Ramos, plays it up to Isak, who's actually halfway inside his own half, might have been fouled. Bruno Guimaraes then hits it long downfield. And at Sunderland Stadium of Light, Niall Huggins has given the home side the lead. Sunderland 1, Watford 0.
Whisper that, John, whisper it.
Yeah, well, it's a good point. Yeah, Sunderland who've won 4 of their last 5 matches, he said. Go back to golf style commentary. PSG up to the halfway line. Hope you enjoyed our coverage, everyone, from the Ryder Cup last weekend. You might be a new listener as a result of that. This is what we do all the time. Or you could have come back to 5 Live. So stick with us. Rugby Union World Cup, Cricket World Cup starts in the morning as Ugarte has fouled near the centre circle. Yes, on air, live from India in the morning, from Ahmedabad. England, first team into action. England, New Zealand in the morning. On Sports Extra from 8:30, and a TMS daily every day of the World Cup, just as there is a Rugby Union daily during the Rugby World Cup. PSG in possession. In fact, we're going to hear from Chris Jones at half-time ahead of the big weekend for Ireland and Scotland. Here is Dembele. Chris Jones is in France. Paris Saint-Germain are in England. Here's Zaya Emery. Square from him to Ugarte, then to the edge of the penalty area. Newcastle deal with that. Isak jumps for it, and the ball bounces back to the halfway line. Marquinhos, who was at fault for the goal. Poor really, yet another goal from a team trying to play out from the back. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Paris Saint-Germain or whatever level, all teams give away goals playing out from the back.
You just look, John, it's just 32 minutes nearly, and you can see Newcastle have felt the pace. They come out the blocks ever so quick. Energy levels were so high. Yes, they'd 1-0 up, something to protect, but they're now letting Paris have the ball.
As Newcastle actually win it back on the halfway line. Bruno Guimaraes about to sign a new contract. Here's Isak. Isak takes it on, but it runs away from him. And PSG with Lucas Hernandez is there. As he touches the ball past Isak, Isak lands on him.
Clumsy, that,
just
isn't it?
Landed on top of him and conceded a free kick.
Very
and actually,
clumsy.
the two of them have both stayed down. Lucas Hernandez is clutching his calf.
And Hernandez stood on Isak's ankle as well, so it's, I think Hernandez is all right.
Yeah, although Isak has stayed down. Lucas Hernandez is okay. While they get themselves back to their feet, it is half-time in the Leicester-Preston match in the Championship. Charlie Slater.
It's 0-0. Leicester have had most of the ball, but Preston had the best chance. Dwayne Holmes went through 3 minutes before the break, but put it wide. Goalless at the break.
Thank you very much. And so 1-0 to Newcastle here. Great pace to the match in the Tyneside drizzle. PSG had that early chance for Dembele that was narrowly wide. And news as well, Chris. Sheffield Wednesday have parted company with Xisco Munoz, who only took over just before the start of the season. They've obviously made a dreadful start in terms of the results. And Xisco Munoz, where are we now? October? Start of October. It's basically had a couple of months.
8 games, I think. Is it 7 games?
What do you think? Sheffield Wednesday?
I feel sorry for the guy. I mean, listen, he hasn't had the results. They signed a lot of new players on free transfers. But, you know, if you are really being honest about the club, the chairman has got to put that sign up saying for sale.
Yeah, so that is the view of the former Sheffield Wednesday man, Chris Waddle. So far tonight, we've had more managerial departures than we've had goals. since this match kicked off. Mark Hughes leaving Bradford and Xisco Munoz leaving Sheffield Wednesday. And there's concern now for Isak because he still has not got to his feet. He's lying on his side down there in the left back position.
Well, he caught his ankle with a follow through. It wasn't. He didn't mean to do it, obviously, but he's caught the bottom of the stud. So
apparently there's blood can be seen from the pictures. So he's obviously had a bang on the head. So whether he'll obviously need that to be mopped up. There's no Callum Wilson on the bench for Newcastle United. So if Eddie Howe's got to make a change here, really, in terms of who would play up front, probably have to be one of the wide players.
I would probably think he'd have to put one of the wide players up front. He put Anderson further forward, who can play.
Yeah. So while there is a lengthy stoppage, let's get more news on RB Leipzig against Manchester City from Alistair Bruce Ball.
12 minutes remaining in the first half. Manchester City in total control. Phil Foden's goal has them in front after 25 minutes, but they've had all the possession and they're creating plenty of chances. Foden with another effort blocked, and Erling Haaland, who's not scored in his last 4 Champions League games ahead of this one, with a shot across the face of goal from a very tight angle. Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1.
Isak now sitting up and they're bandaging his head. Half times in the Championship: Swansea 1, Norwich 1, Coventry 0, Blackburn 0, Sunderland 1, Watford 0, Leeds 1, QPR 0. 10 minutes away from half time plus added time. I'm now told we're not hearing from Chris Jones at half time from France because he's busy, so he's probably recording another podcast. Instead, we'll hear from India from ahead of England's match tomorrow morning at the Cricket World Cup, that you'll be able to hear on Sports Extra throughout the day tomorrow, and then New Zealand Uruguay on Sports Extra from the Rugby Union World Cup tomorrow night. Isak is on his feet.
Why has he got to run across the other side of the field?
And he's now running across so he can come to the halfway line because he's received treatment, Chris, which means he can't.
What's the matter with that side of the field?
Well, he can't come back on for 30 seconds, of course.
So you have to run for 30 seconds.
Well, maybe. So bandaged. Oh, that's nice. Newcastle playing it out from the back. Bruno Guimaraes allowed it to run to Tonali. Now Gordon on the left-hand side. Isak wants to get back onto the field, but he can't. He's roaring on his team with his bandaged head, and then Gordon gives it away with a crossfield pass. And Kolo Muani runs into Lascelles. And then there's a foul centre field on Longstaff, and it's a free kick to Newcastle just forward of the.
I've got to say, John, the weakness from Paris is Luani and Ramos. I think they haven't recruited well on the centre forward line. The two of them have struggled tonight to get a hold of the ball. Vision, awareness, it's just not there.
Yep. Gonzalo Ramos, who's on loan from Benfica, and Randall Kolo Muani, who is bought for a lot of money, almost 100 million euros from Eintracht Frankfurt. It's Bruno Guimaraes who was fouled actually, but it's a free kick to Newcastle, just forward and right of the centre circle. Newcastle United 1, Paris Saint-Germain 0 is the score. Half time approaching. Free kick played in by Trippier to the edge of the area. Hakimi stretched out a leg and was able to deflect it away. And now Dan Burn turns the ball down the line, but it bounces out for a throw-in. In the Champions League, it is Red Star Belgrade 1, Young Boys 0, and that is in the Manchester City group. Hakimi left-footed away downfield, but that's way beyond Dembele, and it bounces to the edge of the penalty area. Dembele has yet to get off the mark in terms of goals for Paris Saint-Germain since his move. Newcastle played down the right to Almiron, took the ball in his stride, just got his heels clipped by Lucas Hernandez. Yes, he is. He's got the free kick, and that's a yellow card for the PSG left back Lucas Hernandez, and a free kick to Newcastle in a very good position.
What a great ball by Trippier. The run by Almiron's good behind the defence, but what a weighted pass. Hernandez caught out position, trips him up, and he's looking for the trainer to come on. He's not moved, he's not got up.
Well,
he's signalled to the bench, he's not happy.
He's not happy, Almiron. He is now sitting up, and he's been helped to his feet by Mbappe actually. So Newcastle with a free kick. The Brentford defender Ben Mee is also with us, by the way, from a distance. I think he was sitting on his settee, wasn't he, when we saw him earlier? So, so we'll hear from him again at half time. for his thoughts on what has been thus far a very good first half for Newcastle United and Eddie Howe, and for the Geordies and for Tyneside. Second goal would make it even better. Almiron's okay, didn't need treatment. Kieran Trippier now out to the right hand side with this free kick, curls it into the back post, and it's headed down and hooked goalwards, and Donnarumma is able to get to it. Lascelles with the initial header, then driven in by Bruno Guimaraes. That save, Bruno Guimaraes with the ball to the back post. Oh, what a save from Donnarumma. Dan Burns saying, was that over the line? Was it over the line? No, offside. It's offside.
What a goalie he is.
Donnarumma.
Two great saves there, you've got to say.
How tall is he?
Well, 6 foot, well, taller than you, not saying a lot.
I think he must be 8 foot tall. I mean, how he's getting to some of these is remarkable.
Absolutely, top draw, isn't it? Great ball in. First header, looking behind ball. What a save.
Defender. It's actually off the defender in the end.
Then the cross comes in, a shot at the near post by Guimaraes, and then he chips it to the far post, and he's there again.
I think that was from behind the line. He saved it, but the offside flag was up against Newcastle, so obviously VAR will have a look at that. Yep, VAR are having a look at this to check if indeed it was offside, in which case, if it wasn't, I strongly suspect that Dan Burns' header actually crossed the line. But the question is whether there was an offside in there somewhere, in a whole goalmouth scramble, really, penalty area scramble.
Wow, exciting. He's near post. Guimaraes, he's not offside. I don't think he is. I think he's on. Dan Burn, that is a goal.
This could be a goal. This could be a second goal for Newcastle.
It should be.
Well,
it should be.
It just depends on the lines. It was the ball that was played back to Bruno Guimaraes, who was near the dead ball line, but there's a defender in there whose leg, the pictures weren't great that we saw, but what we've seen.
I don't know why they argue with the ref. He's waiting for a decision. What's he got? He's got a television on his wrist.
We're just waiting for the decision from the video assistant referee, who's German, Marco Fritz.
Almiron's got to go off as he's had treatment. He's not going to run around the other side of the field.
Well, he might have time to walk all the way around before we get a decision on this offside. And no VAR worth his salt is going to rush with an offside decision after the events of the weekend. So we wait and we wait, and we can only assume from this that it is very tight. Very tight. Referee Kovac is on his own now. They're talking to him. This is in the balance here. This could be 2-0 Newcastle before half-time. Still he walks around. Still the discussions continue. Sandro Tonali looking at him. None of the players are anywhere near the referee now. They've got the message. Newcastle United want a decision. The referee now walking back towards the penalty area. Here we go. Oh, the rectangle. It's a goal. It's a second goal. Bruno Guimaraes was onside when it was played back to him. And so Dan Burn scores in the Premier League for Newcastle United. The local hero makes it 2-0 against Paris Saint-Germain. And his face is wreathed in a huge smile, and he turns and he shouts towards the Milburn stand. He punches the air. Dan Burn, born in Blythe, scores in the Champions League. Newcastle 2, Paris Saint-Germain 0.
I've got to say, VAR gets something right. And I think they were looking, John, at a handball on the first one. That's a brilliant save. Guimaraes wasn't offside as he crosses it. Dan Burn, as it comes back to him, he's not offside. There was a handball earlier on the first cross, but Dan Burns' header so powerful. Donnarumma saved 2 brilliant saves, 3 tonight. Couldn't keep that out.
3 yards out, but he used all of his height, and we're just seeing now the graphic on the screen. And you know, it's clearly onside. So I think, as you said, Chris, I think maybe the issue was whether there was a handball in there.
It looked like there was, and I can see why Paris have had to go at the ref after he gave the decision. But
did you see who the handball was? The suggested handball was against?
It might have been Lascelles.
Right. Okay.
The centre half, definitely, I think.
Nevertheless, the video assistant referee has deemed that that the handball was not pivotal in what happened there, and therefore Newcastle United lead Paris Saint-Germain by 2-0. And Dan Burn, who was with us on 5 Live, when was that? The start of last week, and was talking about Champions League, what it would mean. Here he is getting on the score sheet, and now Trippier for Newcastle drives it across, but actually couldn't get there before the ball was over the dead ball line.
Well, that second goal, I'm not saying to give the crowd a lift, because the crowd have been magnificent all night, but Newcastle now on the front foot. You've got to look at some of these Paris Saint-Germain players. There's a few of them now don't really want the ball when they're getting it from the back. They're not showing. They've got a big problem down the middle up front. Paris, the 2 wingers are not bad, but no centre forward.
As Jamal Lascelles comes forward and clears the ball away downfield, and it bounces out of play on the halfway line. So Dan Burn, who was a Newcastle season ticket holder over there on the other side of the stadium in the East Stand, as I say, started out at Newcastle but didn't make it, so went here, there and everywhere, including to his hometown club, Blythe Spartans. Also worked in Asda when he was 16 years old. Alan Shearer was his big hero when he was growing up, and there he is with a header just like Shearer to make it 2-0.
What a memory. Get your shirt framed. You might swap with them, Batley. I wouldn't swap it now, I'd keep that. He scored, keep it.
We've got 7 minutes of added time at the end of the first half, so half-time is a little while away. Chris Jones might have finished recording that podcast. Here's Dembele on the right-hand side. Dembele's ball in field. Now he gets that back again. Paris Saint-Germain, who've been blunted tonight, really, by Newcastle, this quartet that they played. But here's Hakimi, let's not speak too soon. Hakimi's ball in. Gonzalo Ramos was fouled by Longstaff, and that's a free kick to Paris Saint-Germain near the right corner of the Newcastle box.
Well, they're running out of time. They've got to try and get something. You've got to think, really, they've had one good effort. Dembele won it at the far post early in the game. Apart from that, played a few nice triangles, but struggled in possession, really, to create anything tonight.
And they've looked after Mbappe, okay.
They've looked after everybody. Newcastle really haven't had, apart from that Dembele chance early in the game, they haven't been worried about anything.
So 2-0, in-form Newcastle. Remember, they are now unbeaten in 5 matches, not conceded a goal in 5 matches. Free kick though, you would have thought that this Paris Saint-Germain team would have really threatened that, but really just that early chance for Dembele in terms of a close goal-scoring opportunity. But in added time at the end of the first half, false start, Hakimi and Dembele then plays it into the back post, but Pope comes, huge clear for the Newcastle goalkeeper, getting a fist to it, comes out to Ugarte on the left-hand side. The challenge comes in, and Bruno Guimaraes puts in the challenge again, and there's another one, celebrating a tackle in his own defensive third as the ball's deflected out for a throw.
Fans have been brilliant tonight. They've recreated this atmosphere where they've really unsettled Paris. In Paris, you probably think a lot of these players have seen all this and heard all this. You know, they've had big games over the last few years, but crowd tonight's been fantastic, and you've got to say Newcastle really competed well, and they deserve to be 2-0 up.
Yeah, Paris Saint-Germain, the French champions, serial winners of the league now, dominating the league. Won it 9 times in the last 11 seasons. Of course, haven't been able to make the breakthrough to win the Champions League. Got to the final in the behind closed doors final, Thomas Tuchel's side at the time, as Newcastle come forward. Here's Gordon on the left, Gordon cutting inside Hakimi, who has been yellow carded incidentally. Hakimi fouls Gordon, trips him up, and it's a free kick to Newcastle 15 yards inside the PSG half.
Well, he struggled tonight, Hakimi, I think. He's not played very well at all.
Still RB Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1. Phil Foden the goal scorer there, and Celtic 1, Lazio 1 after Kyogo Furuhashi gave Celtic the lead. Porto 0, Barcelona 1. Ferran Torres has scored the opening goal for Barcelona, and half-time Borussia Dortmund 0, Milan 0, the other match in this group in the Westfalenstadion, as they used to call it. Kieran Trippier, free kick. Lascelles chests it down at the back post, up against Ugarte, and the ball bounces out of play off the Newcastle captain for a goal kick to PSG. It is half-time in the matches involving Manchester City and Celtic, so more on those once the whistle goes here. We're in the 4th minute of added time at the end of the first half. Zaïre Emery is able to get the pass forward towards Kolo Muani. Now to the right-hand side to his fellow French international Dembele. Dembele up against Dan Burn. Dan Burn running with him. Dembele gets the ball across to the back post, but it's stabbed away by Lascelles, with Gonzalo Ramos waiting just behind him.
In the midfield, get across to try and help back Dan Burn, but he doesn't want to be left one-on-one with Dembele. He's very clever when he gets one-on-one. We've got a decent ball across here. If somebody attacks the near post.
Yeah, Dan Burn has handled it okay so far. Free kick. Corner is played in, headed away by Isak, out of play for a throw-in on the right-hand side here. It's left by Dembele for Hakimi to take, which he does. Back to Zaïre Emery. Rotherham 0, Bristol City 0 is the half-time score in what is the 8 o'clock kickoff in the Championship. So Newcastle United 2, Paris Saint-Germain 0. All the reaction to this, Eddie Howe, perhaps a little bit of Luis Enrique, will be on the 5 Live Football Daily podcast in the morning. You can subscribe for free from BBC Sounds, which is where you'll also find the Footballers Football podcast with Callum Wilson and Michael Antonio. Just search for The Players channel on BBC Sounds for that. Here's Kolo Muani on the left-hand side. Mbappe tries to reach this, but the challenge came in actually on Kolo Muani, which took the ball away from him and behind for a PSG corner. Urgency from them, from Mbappe, who collects the ball from in front of the advertising hoardings. Gentle rain still falling on St James's Park here, so close to the city centre. With a scoreline like this, Mbappe takes it on, plays it across. Gonzalo Ramos shoots on the turn, and it's deflected wide of the goal, wide of the left post as he looked at it from 8 yards out for another corner to PSG. Yep, scoreline like this, if they're able to hang on to this, get any sort of win, the celebrations in Newcastle City Centre tonight will be something to behold. Corner is played into the back post. Mbappe stretches but can only pass it, prod it away to Bruno Guimaraes, who lifts it forward to goal scorer Dan Burn, and Burn plays it forward towards Tonali, driving onto this, past Zaïre Emery to the byline. His cross low to the edge of the 6-yard box is intercepted by Skriniar for PSG, but the referee has stopped play because as the players were racing back towards the edge of the area, one of the PSG men went tumbling down, and that's given us a free kick to Paris.
Well, I don't know if he's looking at this. I don't know. I didn't say anything. I was following the ball down this left-hand side, and the yellow card. Unrest
for Bruno Guimaraes. So no, it was off the ball, and whoever the PSG, it's Ugarte, isn't it? Yeah. Ugarte was suggesting that the way he went down, just seeing it again there, it was off the ball. Bruno Guimaraes just sort of bumped into him, and it's a yellow card for Bruno Guimaraes. So Newcastle United 2, Paris Saint-Germain 0, right at the end of the first half. Long pass forward from Marquinhos.
That's half-time, John.
And there's the half-time whistle, and Eddie Howe, his fair hair dampened by the Tyneside rain, disappears away out of sight down the tunnel, and what a satisfying first half that is for Newcastle United, playing here on their home ground in the Champions League for the first time for 20 years, and at half-time they're leading Paris Saint-Germain, Kylian Mbappe and all, by 2-0, and those goals scored by Miguel Almiron and the local hero Dan Burn.
Listen, they've deserved it. Their effort, their commitment, the atmosphere in the stadium is brilliant, but the players have actually rose to the challenge. And you've got to say, if I was questioning Paris Saint-Germain, too many egos. And in my eyes, they don't look like they want to do the hard work bit. Yes, they all want to show their abilities and their skills, but they don't want to put that bit of drive in, and that bit about drive, what you need to win games in an atmosphere like this. So you've got to say Newcastle spot on 100%, fans absolutely magnificent, and they thoroughly deserve the 2-0 lead.
Yeah, it's interesting. We thought they'd kind of moved on from that, but more on that to come. Half-time, Newcastle United 2, Paris Saint-Germain 0.
Well, everybody connected, Chris, deserves that 2-0 lead at half-time, don't they? I mean, the players, the fans, the whole energy created pre-match, which was carried on into the first 45 minutes, and that in the main, bar that one chance you were talking about, hasn't allowed Paris Saint-Germain to really catch their breath.
Now, Newcastle's work ethic has been absolutely fantastic. They put pressure on the ball whenever they can. Sometimes they've let them have it at the back, but their use from the back, Paris, has been very average, very poor. We've not seen Mbappe in the game. We've not seen Dembele, the two main actors in my eyes. The two centre forwards who they've brought in the summer, in my eyes, are going to take longer to settle, or simply they're not good enough for Paris Saint-Germain. I wouldn't write them off. They're capable, they've got the ability. We know that. We've got certain players who can get Paris back into the game. But first half performance, counting the fans, counting the coach, whatever you want to talk about Newcastle United, that was brilliant from them first half.
Brentford's Ben Mee with us as well this evening. I mean, they could have had another couple as well, couldn't they? The one that really springs to mind, Fabian Schär's. I mean, that was a great corner routine, and Fabian Schär's shot was inches past the post.
Yeah, really well worked set piece. Newcastle, work on them a lot, and they're very important to their game. And it's been a superb first half for Newcastle, and really impressed with the press. Going as a team, the togetherness. Chris mentioned it. They're all working together. Complete opposite to PSG. There was a little scare in the first 5 minutes where they played through the press, and I think Dembele just had that little opportunity first 5 minutes. But then Newcastle got the press right, and obviously the first goal came exactly from that. And they've been fantastic. Energy, the crowd have been behind them and creating a lot of chances as well.
Do you agree with Chris that Paris Saint-Germain look sort of individualistic?
I think they look a bit shell-shocked, actually. They're not being allowed to play how they want to play. Maybe their formation is a little bit different to maybe how they used to playing, with the four up top. They look a bit bare in midfield, and Newcastle have stepped onto them and really sort of forced them to make a lot of mistakes. So obviously they're not used to that as players, having it their own way. And Newcastle really capitalise on doing that.
Ben, Chris, for the moment, thank you. Newcastle 2-0 up then at St James's Park at the break against Paris Saint-Germain. The other English side in action tonight, Manchester City. They're away to RB Leipzig. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Dominant performance from the champions so far tonight in Germany. Half-time scoreline is RB Leipzig 0, Manchester City 1. 72% possession for City, 10 shots on goal. 5 of them from Phil Foden, who's playing in the Julian Alvarez role tonight. 5 changes from the defeat at Wolves on Saturday. Julian Alvarez getting a rest. Phil Foden has moved centrally in behind Erling Haaland, and he's relishing the role. He scored the goal. It came in the 25th minute, and a really nice bit of link-up play between Bernardo Silva and Rico Lewis down the right-hand side. Silva worked Lewis into space. Lewis with the cut back to the edge of the penalty area. Foden timed his run beautifully. Didn't hit the shot entirely cleanly, but hit it down into the ground, and it spun up high over the goalkeeper's left hand and ended up in the back of the net. Ederson hasn't had a thing to do the other end, and a couple of late half chances for Erling Haaland. He looks desperate to get on the score sheet tonight, but hasn't managed that as yet. But at half-time, City very comfortable. They lead Leipzig by a goal to 0.
All square at Celtic. Gavin Wallace.
As indeed, Mark. Celtic 1, Lazio 1. A frantic, energetic first half in the East End of Glasgow. Perfect start for Celtic. On 12, we witnessed a lovely give and go between Dyson Maeda and Matt O'Reilly, which then slipped in Kyogo. He made no mistake in slotting underneath Ivan Provedel in goal, and it sent the Parkhead supporters into raptures at that point. Celtic seemed to ease off a little bit, and then on 29, a Lazio corner was headed towards goal by Alessio Rognoli, and then the Uruguayan Matias Vecino jumped higher than anyone else, and neither Joe Hart or Alistair Johnson could clear it off the line. There was a little bit of dubiety as to whether it did. Referee, after a second or two, yep, it was definitely a goal. And then close to half-time, Matt O'Reilly really should have put Celtic back in front. He got a shot away inside the box, halfway inside the box. However, the goalkeeper got really down well to his left-hand side to stretch out the save. Half-time at Celtic Park, it's Celtic 1, Lazio 1.
John Bennett has news of the other Champions League ties this evening.
Yes, let's start in Newcastle's group, where it's Borussia Dortmund 0, AC Milan 0. Borussia Dortmund will be so frustrated not to be leading. They've looked far more dangerous than Milan. Marlon had a shot just wide. Royce a free kick over. Brandt an overhead kick over. Milan fortunate to be level. That's 0-0. Meanwhile, in Manchester City's group, Red Star Belgrade 1, Young Boys 0. Sheriff Njai with a sliding finish given after a VAR check. Novak Djokovic is watching in the crowd. And in Group H, it's Porto 0, Barcelona 1, a goal from a former Manchester City combination. Ilkay Gundogan playing it to Ferran Torres just before half-time. Lovely low finish. Torres is only on because Robert Lewandowski went off injured. That felt like a big blow at the time, but Torres came on and took a rare chance for Barca. They were saying in Marca today, 3 years since Barcelona have had a big away Champions League victory. They're 45 minutes away from one. It's Porto 0, Barcelona 1.
Earlier on in the Porto-Barcelona group finished Antwerp 2, Shakhtar 3, and in the early game in the Celtic group, Atletico Madrid beat Feyenoord by 3-2. There are 6 games in the Championship this evening. 5 of them are into the second half. It's Coventry 0, Blackburn 0, Leeds lead QPR by 1-0. Goalless between Leicester and Preston. Sunderland are 1 up at home to Watford, and it's Swansea 1, Norwich 1. 8 o'clock kickoff in the Championship, so they're at half-time at the New York Stadium, where it's Rotherham 0, Bristol City 0. Second half from St James's Park on the way. It's exactly 9 o'clock. Here's Dan Maudsley.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good evening. David Cameron has accused Rishi Sunak of losing a once-in-a-generation opportunity after the Prime Minister confirmed he was cancelling the northern leg of HS2. The announcement at the Conservative Party conference also met with an angry response from the Labour Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, who said he hadn't been consulted. But there's been support from the Conservative West Midlands Mayor, Andy Street, who said the plan to invest in other road and rail upgrades in the Midlands and north of England was a reasonable compromise. Well, the Prime Minister also announced plans for a new qualification for 18-year-olds in England to replace A-levels and T-levels, and a proposal to continually raise the legal age for buying cigarettes and tobacco in England so that a child aged 14 today would never be able to buy them. Well, Conservative MPs will be given a free vote on that issue, but our political correspondent Chris Mason believes Mr Sunak will face challenges ahead.
Those 3 big policy areas, they're not instant crowd pleasers. They will divide and provoke and force a response from Labour. And to give you a sense of how much they divide, 2 former Prime Ministers not liking chunks of what we heard today. So Liz Truss really doesn't like the idea of banning smoking for young people. David Cameron hates what he's heard today about HS2.
Police in Sunderland have begun a murder investigation after a man was killed by a dog. The dog, believed to be an XL bully, was immediately destroyed to protect members of the public. A 44-year-old man has been arrested. And Donald Trump's legal team have appealed a judge's ruling last week that he fraudulently inflated property values by more than $2 billion. Mr. Trump had previously called the decision outrageous.
This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
And there has been a goal in the Championship. The deadlock has been broken at the King Power Stadium. Which way, Charlie Slater?
Leicester have got the goal, and it's Kieran Dewsbury-Hall who's got it on the hour mark. The ball slid through into the penalty area. A night for the local boys to score, perhaps. Dewsbury-Hall, raised not far from the King Power Stadium, gets his second in as many matches. Leicester lead Preston 1-0.
Move on to the Men's Cricket World Cup, because that gets going tomorrow in India with a rematch of the final from 2019. So that's England, the defending champions, against New Zealand. Ball-by-ball commentary on Sports Extra from 8:30 a.m. We can head to Ahmedabad now, and Henry Moran has all the latest, including more on Ben Stokes' injury.
Well, here in Ahmedabad, the sun has been beating down all day, around about 35 degrees, and down below us this evening, England training ahead of the tournament opener between them and New Zealand underway tomorrow afternoon local time. Test match special coverage live from 8:30 a.m. on 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds. It is a repeat of last time's final 4 years ago. England, of course, getting over the line that day, largely thanks to the efforts of Ben Stokes. But we've learnt today that all is not necessarily well in terms of Ben Stokes' fitness. And the England captain, Jos Buttler, has been speaking to the BBC's cricket correspondent, Jonathan Agnew.
Tell us about Ben Stokes then. I thought you were going to say his knee was a bit cropped, but it's his hip.
Yeah, he just got a little niggle with his hip. So I will obviously know more today and obviously ahead of training this evening. But it is a long tournament, so we won't take undue risk. But we'll know more a little bit later. He just got a slight niggle.
Sure, but presumably Harry Brook would stand in?
Potentially, yeah. I think Harry could play in any team anyway, so he's a fantastic player. If he's required, it's not the right word to be honest, but if he's playing tomorrow, he's a top player. I think he's obviously very young in his 50 over career, but the way he's taken to Test cricket and T20 cricket at international level, this is a format that will suit him down to the ground.
Well, that was Joss Butler speaking to Jonathan Agnew. Aggers is alongside me in one of 134,000 seats in the Narendra Modi Stadium. Aggers, quite some place for the tournament opener, but no Ben Stokes.
No, and that's disappointing. I mean, I think I was expecting Butler to say that Stokes got a bit of a knee issue, as we know, but actually to say that it was a hip, therefore a new injury, is concerning. And they're right, obviously, not to take any risk with him. It is a long tournament, 9 games to be played. So I'll be surprised if he does play, frankly, with a new injury. It demonstrates they made probably the right decision regarding Harry Brook and Jason Roy, because Brook can slip in. Well, he can bat anywhere really, but he can slip quite easily there as number 4 or 5 depending on what they do with that batting order. But it's quite something for Brook, isn't it, to be out of the squad 1 minute and then to be playing in this vast place in the opening game the next. But I'm pretty sure he'll cope with that.
Feels like we spent quite a lot of time discussing Ben Stokes' fitness one way and the other.
Well, we do, and he's battling away, isn't he? I mean, he jokes that he's kind of slowly falling apart. We know he's got this bad knee, and if it had been that, I mean, he could wake up tomorrow and be all right. The fact that it is a new injury suggests that is unlikely. They'll treat him and everything else. They'll get him on. He isn't going to bowl anyway, but ramping, reverse sweeps, big muscular hits, they all affect the hip, and so that's why I think it would be a surprise if he plays.
So that's now from 8:30 tomorrow morning with Jonathan and Henry. Also on BBC Sounds, one of our many cricket podcasts, good pace for radio. Tamal Mills with Mark Wood and Chris Wokes. A couple of other bits of football news. FIFA have confirmed that the 2030 World Cup will be held across 6 countries in 3 continents. The opening 3 matches will take place in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay to mark the World Cup centenary. 100 years since the very first tournament in Montevideo. But then Spain, Portugal and Morocco are the co-hosts, and they'll stage the rest of the matches. A couple of managerial departures as well today. Sheffield Wednesday have sacked Cisco Munoz. They're currently bottom of the championship. They lost 1-0 to West Brom yesterday. Bradford have sacked Mark Hughes. They're 18th in League 2, having lost their last 2 matches. Some Champions League games are underway in the second half, including the one between RB Leipzig and Manchester City. Goal, Alistair Bruce Ball.
Pep Guardiola looking a little exasperated, sitting in his seat in the Manchester City dugout, because Leipzig have caught Manchester City out right at the start of the second half. City look wide open as Leipzig come pouring forward. Yusuf Poulsen released Lois Openda. He had good strength to hold off Manuel Akanji, and as Edison came out, rolled it past him in off the post. Right at the start of the second half, Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1.
Back in the Championship, Abdullah Bar has just got a second for Sunderland, and they lead Watford by 2 goals. Ben Mee, Newcastle just have to keep doing what they've been doing, which is very easy for me to say and is probably harder to implement.
Yeah, keep doing what they're doing, but also be very aware of the quality on the counter-attacks. And I don't think PSG will play any worse than what they did in the first half, so I'm sure they'll have rectified what they need to do and come out firing. So Newcastle need to be aware of that, but also carry on doing what they've been doing.
The whistles you heard were for Paris Saint-Germain coming out. The applause and the cheers you can hear now are for Newcastle coming out. Back to St James's, Chris and John.
Yeah, thanks Mark. Chris thought that Luis Enrique might bring on a midfielder, strengthen up the PSG midfield, but no changes for either team at half-time.
It looks like he's gone 4-4-2. Mawani's coming out this left-hand side. Mbappe's going to play as a striker with Ramos, and this is how they're going to play to start the second half. And it'll not be long. If it's not happening in the first 10 minutes, I'm sure either Ramos or Mawani will be coming off.
So no rain, there is very, very fine rain still falling on St James's Park. Newcastle leading Paris Saint-Germain by 2-0 as the second half begins. Newcastle kicking off and playing back in the black and white stripes, white shorts, white socks in the Champions League tonight against PSG in the almost all navy blue kit, big red stripe with white trim down the left side, the front left of the shirts. And teams has started the match. Nick Pope in goal, Trippier, Lascelles, Cher and Byrne, Longstaff, Guimaraes and Tonali, Almiron, Isak and Gordon. And the 2 Newcastle United goals, these famous goals for Newcastle, their first goals in the Champions League group stage for 20 years, scored by Miguel Almiron in the 17th minute and Dan Byrne in the 39th. Yes, Dan Byrne with a close range header from a Bruno Guimaraes cross, which was checked by VAR. And Paris Saint-Germain tonight, Donnarumma, who's made a couple of decent saves actually, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Skriniar and Lucas Hernandez, then Ugarte and Zaire Emery in the middle, Dembele and Kolo Muani in the wide areas, and now Mbappe and Gonzalo Ramos through the middle. So Newcastle looking here at the possibility of a draw and a win from their first 2 matches, but still almost 45 minutes of football to play, and if PSG can get a goal, it would look very different, Chris Waddle.
Well, it looked like they've reshaped the team a little bit. There's a lot of movement going between that front 4, but I think if Newcastle can get another goal, great. If not, I think after an hour, I think you'll find that they will tire, and then you do look at the bench and there's not a lot of experience to bring on.
As Newcastle looked to bring it forward, Almiron suggesting that he was impeded by Lucas Hernandez, but the Romanian referee Istvan Kovac doesn't agree with that, and PSG are passing it out from the back, which got them into trouble for the opening goal. And actually there's a foul on Ugarte on the edge of the box by Longstaff, and it's a free kick to PSG. In the Champions League, another early goal at the start of the second half in Manchester City's group. It's now Red Star Belgrade 1, Young Boys 1. Filip Ugrinic has equalised for Young Boys. As we've heard, it's now RB Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1, still Celtic 1, Lazio 1 in their group. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Listen as well via BBC Sounds, which is where you'll get the 5 Live Football Daily podcast in the morning. As the ball's passed here to Kieran Trippier, we can see the water spinning off it as it rolled almost along the halfway line. He passes it back to Cher. Nick Pope has not had to make a save yet in this match. They've not had an attempt on target, although they came very close, PSG, early on in the match when it was 0-0 through Dembele. Now Mbappe centrally, Kolo Muani back to Ugarte, and now here is Kylian Mbappe, the Paris Saint-Germain number 7, 41 goals in 62 Champions League appearances. Scored in the opening match against Borussia Dortmund from the penalty spot. Little ball to the edge of the area from Zaire Emery, the 17-year-old. He was challenged but gave it back to Ramos. Now on the right-hand side, Dembele's ball across. Longstaff was in the right place there for Newcastle United to block it away, out for a throw-in on the far side that PSG take quickly. The rain just increases in intensity. The Paris Saint-Germain fans way up at the top of the Leazes end. They've never been up there before, the first time these clubs have played one another in a competitive match, and they are bouncing up and down, trying to urge their team on. PSG attacking towards that end of the stadium. Kolo Muani runs into Longstaff, so Paris Saint-Germain have got to go back to big Donnarumma.
Well, they rely on Mbappe a lot, we know that, but he can't get in the game. Yes, he's picking the ball up, it's not affecting it, he's picking it up well deep, and it's very easy for Newcastle.
As Newcastle win the ball back centre field, Bruno Guimaraes. Now Isak to Gordon though tackled by Marquinhos, who's able to win the ball, then play it forward. Zaire Emery, Ramos tries to give it back to him, but good intensity from Newcastle United, and Bruno Guimaraes winning the ball back. Got to be careful, Bruno Guimaraes, he is on a yellow card there, and as he was running shoulder to shoulder, there's always that fear that there's going to be a reaction from a situation like that. Here's Almiron now, turns, gets his head down, he's off and running, might have been tugged back by Ugarte there, but he uses Kieran Trippier, who spots the pass to Longstaff, shoots, it's in! Donnarumma couldn't keep it out! He got a hand to it, should have done better! Newcastle don't care about that! It's 3-0! And now it's Sean Longstaff! What about this? First Dan Byrne, now Sean Longstaff. Geordie's on the score sheet. Newcastle winning 3-0 against Paris Saint-Germain. What a night to remember.
It is a night to remember. No, Longstaff does that ever so well. I watched him in the Premier League. He gets in the box, he runs off the back of midfield players, and he did it again tonight and again, and nobody tracked him. It was a simple ball by Trippier, just rolled it into his path, and it was a fantastic finish. He just put his foot through it. It's a simple pass, nobody tracks him. He hits it hard and low. Donnarumma, who was a top goalkeeper, could not shoot it out. Gets a hand to it, a right hand, goes at the roof of the net. 3-0, and you've got to say that has got to be game over.
You'd have to think that. Newcastle United 3, Paris Saint-Germain 0, and Donnarumma went down to his right. It was quite close to him, but it was well struck, as Chris Waddle says, by Longstaff. And although he got a hand to it, he rather clumsily just deflected it under his own body into the net. And that was not Gianluigi Donnarumma's finest moment. And so 3-0. Who was predicting this, Chris?
Nobody. Probably the Newcastle fans.
I'm not so sure. With Mbappe coming here and all of those other talents, hundreds of millions of pounds worth of talent. But this is going to go down with, some of those famous wins in the previous Champions League era over 20 years ago. Whether you're thinking about the 3-2 against Barcelona. Luis Enrique scored in that match, incidentally, the PSG coach. The 1-0 win against Juventus. And here's Isak as Newcastle look for more. Isak challenged by Skriniar, but it bounces away centrally. And Zaire Emery shields the ball from Tonali. But
you know what, John? I've looked at the team, Paris, and probably Emery, the young lad, who's a young player in midfield. He's probably been their best player tonight. I've not seen anybody in a Paris shirt totally committed, showing what they can actually do, how they get to this football club, where they've been before. It's just been so easy. Newcastle have been well organised, which you expect from Eddie Howe's team, but they've been clinical when they've had opportunities, but their work rate and their honesty has been brilliant.
So 3-0 against the French champions, a team that has these pretensions of winning the Champions League and dominating Europe, as PSG come forward. But 3-0 down now, that's a long way back for Luis Enrique's team, particularly in this atmosphere inside this ground. And the 3 goals tonight for Newcastle United have come from Asuncion, Blythe and North Shields.
Not bad.
Throw in for Newcastle halfway inside their own half. As Ramos might have been tripped there, he was, by Tonali, so it's a free kick to Paris Saint-Germain, best part of 25 yards out. Another goal at Leicester, Charlie Slater.
76 on the clock and Leicester have doubled their lead. Kelechi Iheanacho, it's a wonderful goal. First KDH, then out towards Ndidi, back across the goal, a simple tap in, 2-0 to Leicester.
Great start to the season for Leicester. They're on course for what would be their 11th win out of 13 matches in all competitions this season, and they will stay top of the championship. Free kick then for Paris Saint-Germain, who are 3-0 down to Newcastle. Eddie Howe's Newcastle, Champions League manager. But Hakimi and Dembele. Here's Dembele who curls it in teasingly to the back post. And whether Marquinhos got a touch on that, whether it was Skriniar, they couldn't deflect it on goal, and it was wide of the far post.
Skriniar, wasn't it? I think they're offside anyway, John. Just maybe with VAR, if it was looking at it. Yeah, it's a good ball in.
Let's get another update on RB Leipzig against Manchester City, which has been watched by Alistair Bruce Ball tonight.
Just over half an hour to play. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. Manchester City conceding right at the start of the second half. Erling Haaland's just gone close to getting them back in front. Foden's brilliantly driven cross, just a bit too pacey. He got there at the far post, couldn't control the finish, and it went wide. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1.
PSG going to make a change very shortly. Forward player coming on. Luis Enrique is turning to another one of his youngsters, the 21-year-old Bradley Barcola, French under-21 international, so he's waiting to come on the halfway line. And Newcastle with Gordon on the left, but the move breaks down. 10 minutes into the second half, Luis Enrique comes across with some instructions.
I think Mawani will be coming off. Got to be. Ramos has played slightly better, but not much.
PSG, Kylian Mbappe, yet to have a shot on goal, on target, we should say. Mbappe and Almiron and Trippier looking after him together. That's what you, Chris, said they had to do, Newcastle. Zaire Emery plays this out to the right-hand side. Dembele gets it down. Dembele looks to cross, actually plays it square. Zaire Emery on his left foot, lifts it into the area. Little header is in.
Yeah, it is.
And it's Lucas Hernandez just ghosting in the left back. Little glance on it past Pope. Newcastle concede their first goal in the Champions League this season. Actually, their first goal in 6 matches. But Paris Saint-Germain are on the score sheet. Newcastle 3, Paris Saint-Germain 1 now.
Emery, what a great little ball, great run. He's on set. Oh, it's tight that. I tell you what, that's quite tight, that lane. We'll see. It's a great finish and it's a great ball, but is he just offside?
Well, play has not restarted yet. We're going to see that change.
Right, yeah, and Mawani's got to come off. He's had an absolute nightmare tonight, the lad.
Yeah, and he's going to be replaced. So Randall Kolo Muani just waiting to come off the field. We're just waiting to see if this goal is going to stand. Huge cheer inside the stadium when on the big screen. I think he's just said to continue. Has he? Or are we still waiting? Well, he said you can make the substitution. Yeah, that's it. The goal is confirmed. So Lucas Hernandez scoring his first goal for Paris Saint-Germain since his move from Bayern Munich in the summer. Another big money arrival, 40 million euros, and he did well. So 3-1 it is to Newcastle United. RB Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. The latest from Celtic Park now, from Gavin Wallace.
Still Celtic 1, Lazio 1, John. Celtic had a great chance on 59, a free kick just on the edge of the box. It went out to Rio Hitati Short. His low block, low shot right through traffic, was saved well by Providel, and Maeda just couldn't get there with a follow-up quick enough, but it's still Celtic 1, Lazio 1.
Celtic will feel that they've got to win that match tonight, as PSG come forward and the ball is chipped out towards the left-hand side, and it's played back across by the newly arrived Barcola, but deflected behind for a corner to PSG.
And the one thing I thought, John, get to 60-65 minutes, and I think Newcastle will feel the pace. They put so much effort in, and at this level of football and the occasion, it will take it out on a few legs of Newcastle players. So Paris will get more into the game, they'll find more time, more space. And when you look at the Newcastle bench, they haven't really got a lot of experience to throw on.
They have not, with all of the various injuries. There's not even Matt Ritchie on the bench tonight. No Joe Linton, no Wilson, and no Botman, of course. Corner is taken. Hakimi with a shot, but that comes off Isak inside the penalty area. Just stuck out a leg. Could have gone anywhere actually, but it was a good deflection, well wide of goal, and behind for another corner.
Yeah, they're starting to find space, though, John. Now that's a corner on the left, corner on the right. Hakimi, you don't allow him to shoot from 25 yards.
Corner is taken, back to Hakimi. Now back to corner taker Dembele. It's actually miscontrolled by Zaire Emery, but he slides into it, gets it back to Ugarte, but he's overhit the ball forward, and that releases the pressure. And Luis Enrique down there turns and puts his arms apart and mutters away to his coaching staff behind him on the bench.
His standards and levels of what he's been and seen, and he doesn't see people do a lot of sloppy passes, and he saw a lot tonight by Paris Saint-Germain. I know they've just got back in the game 3-1. And it's going to be an interesting last 30 minutes because Paris will get on top here. Newcastle will feel the pace.
Luis Enrique, incidentally, I mentioned that match against Barcelona, the 3-2 match here at St James's Park. Luis Enrique in that match became the first man to score against Newcastle in the Champions League. Scored the opening goal in that match back in '97. But Paris Saint-Germain win a free kick. Skriniar is fouled, and it's a free kick to Paris Saint-Germain. So Newcastle United, one of the results with the scoreline as it is in their relatively brief history in this competition. This is only the third season Newcastle have appeared in either the Europa Cup or the European Cup or the Champions League proper. as Longstaff wins the ball back in centre field, and now Tonali turns. Tonali restored to the starting lineup tonight, gets the ball back in the Paris Saint-Germain right back area. Tonali with the cross, but that's an easy catch for Donnarumma. Red Star Belgrade 1, Young Boys 2 now, with Cedric Itten scoring the goal for Young Boys. That is in Manchester City's group, where it is still RB Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. I'll run you through the latest scores in the Championship when we get a chance, but we're into the last half hour now. But it's possible, Chris, that could feel like a long half hour for Newcastle.
Ideal will Newcastle score another, and that will put it to bed. But as long as it's 3-1, Paris will believe they're going to get good possession, and they're going to create 2 or 3 more chances. Newcastle will feel the pace, the effort they put in tonight.
That's Chris Waddle, played in the final of this competition for Marseille back in the days when he was the 3rd most expensive footballer in the world. As Marquinhos strikes the ball away downfield, but Lascelles is able to come across and head the ball out of play on the far side for a throw-in to PSG. Latest scores in the Championship: Coventry 0, Blackburn 0, Leeds winning 1-0 against QPR. As we heard, Leicester City 2-0 up on Preston. Sunderland now 2-0 up on Watford, not far away from here, about 15 miles. Swansea 1, Norwich 1, and Rotherham 0, Bristol City 0. And in the morning on Sports Extra, the first match of the Cricket World Cup, you'll hear it on BBC Radio. Every match will be on Sports Extra, possibly on 5 Live, certainly online. And England, New Zealand from 9:30 in the morning. The programme on air from 8:30. Newcastle bringing it forward. Gordon goes down, played forward from the halfway line.
That's what you don't want to see, John. Tonali, who's feeling a bit of cramp there.
Yeah.
You don't want to give the ball away cheaply. You've got to keep the ball and make Paris work.
Yeah, so it is Paris Saint-Germain on the left-hand side. Even though it's 3-1, it does feel that it's in the balance now, as it's played forward to Ramos, who's in an offside position. So let's get another update on RB Leipzig, Manchester City, from Alistair Bruce Ball.
Into the last 25 minutes now. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. Phil Foden moments ago has rattled the crossbar. Free kick from wide on the right-hand side. Don't think the goalkeeper Yanis Blasvik was expecting it. Right over his head, curling onto the corner of post and crossbar. Came down, didn't cross the line. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1.
Going to say a couple of changes. Eddie Howe, whose options are very limited tonight. He's got only 7 outfield players on the bench, and one of them is young Lewis Miley, the 17-year-old, who's tipped for great things, but it's Elliot Anderson who's going to come on for Newcastle. Interestingly, not named in the Scotland squad today by Steve Clarke, who suggests that he's got a decision to make. So that might be something that we talk to Gareth Southgate tomorrow about. Off to St George's Park tomorrow, after St James's Park tonight, Chris, for the England squad announcement.
Enjoy your park.
Yes, I will. I wonder if Dan Byrne might have a chance. What a look. As it's played back to Donnarumma to the halfway line, and then Bruno Guimaraes is challenged by Ugarte, and that's a free kick for Newcastle. And Bruno Guimaraes, I see, is feeling a bit of cramp as well. But it's PSG who make the first change, and it's actually Ugarte who just committed that foul, who's coming off, and Vitinha is coming on.
To be fair, John, he could have took 5 or 6 off. Paris have been so disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't say anybody's really been on their game.
So Vitinha, the young Portuguese international, who, like many Portuguese internationals, had a spell at Wolves. And it is Tonali who will make way. I think you saw that one coming as well, Chris. So Elliot Anderson just slots into that position on the left side of the Newcastle midfield 3. And we've got another Newcastle fan coming onto the field. 2 of them have scored tonight. I wonder if Elliot Anderson fancies the chances of making it a Geordie hat-trick.
Oh, that would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? That would be unbelievable.
Swansea are back in front against Norwich City. Bashir Humphreys has made it Swansea 2, Norwich 1. We've got 25 minutes to go. Free kick for Newcastle as they attack towards the Gallagate end. This is swirled in, but way too much on that from Kieran Trippier. That was overhit by a distance, most unlike him. And it's a free kick. It's a goal kick to Paris Saint-Germain, who pass it out from the back. Out to the right-hand side to Hakimi. So the change, seeing Vitinha come on into the midfield, who scored 1 goal in his time at Wolves, Vitinha, and that was witnessed by me at Chorley. Do you remember when he scored from 35 yards in the FA Cup? That was Vitinha, who's now starting regularly for Paris Saint-Germain. I remember him not being best chuffed that night, because I think he felt that he'd not been given enough opportunities, and he cracked it in from 35 yards and barely celebrated. As Vitinha gives it away on the halfway line, and Bruno Guimaraes is onto this. Played down the left. Good work out there from Anderson. Oh, lovely footwork. Into the area now. Still going, and then the challenge from Marquinhos, and it bounces away, deflected to Vitinha, who passes it forward. And now Gonzalo Ramos taking it over the halfway line, giving it to the left-hand side to Barcola, and Mbappe's peeled out to the left wing, finds the pass infield towards Barcola, back to Mbappe, little ball into the box to Ramos, takes it out wide, then Barcola again. Barcola drops a shoulder, back to the edge of the box. Zaire Emery square from him. Vitinha square from him to Hakimi. Back to Vitinha again. And now Zaire Emery. PSG are all over Newcastle here. Barcola plays it back centrally. Vitinha turns it onto his left foot. Newcastle close him down. Zaire Emery back to the left-hand side again. And the ball in from Lucas Hernandez takes a deflection which took it behind. But PSG teasing with Newcastle there.
It's the first time, John, they've got good possession, and you can see Newcastle, a lot of tired legs. The amount of work they've put into this game so far has been brilliant. But I don't know, there's a long way to go. There's a long time to go, and they've just got to keep concentrating, don't give the ball away.
Corner. If Paris Saint-Germain get another goal as the ball is played back, Zaire Emery plays it in, Pope comes, doesn't get there, got nowhere near it, came off I think a Newcastle head on the edge of the 6-yard box, and they were able to clear it out of play for a throw on the far side.
Well, they'll have to check and VAR, because Ramos went down, and look, he's at the referee and saying, are you going to look at this or what?
This could be trouble for Newcastle. Well, they will be looking at it. And Dembele has received a yellow card in the middle of all that somewhere, and the referee says they have looked at it. Play on. Newcastle 3, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Back to Leicester in the Championship. Charlie Slater.
Icing on the cake job here. Leicester 3, Preston 0. Brilliant cross from Albrighton. First time volley from Iheanacho. Brilliantly saved, but then tapped in by Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. 90 minutes on the clock. Leicester 3, Preston 0.
2 goals for Dewsbury-Hall tonight. Paris Saint-Germain with the ball in their own left-back area. Newcastle using that energy, and Almiron has piled into Lucas Hernandez and fouled him, and it's a free kick down in their own
brilliant
left-back
pressing
area.
though by Newcastle, wasn't it? Brilliant. We all go together as a team, and Paris are probably thinking we don't normally get this, because normally in the French league all the teams drop off and defend deep against them.
That long ball forward.
What a ball.
What a ball as well for Dembele. Dembele's away from Byrne. Dembele is deflected as the challenge came in from Lascelles coming across. Well defended from the captain, and I think he deflected it back onto the Paris Saint-Germain player, Dembele, and behind for a goal kick.
Hakimi in it, what is it, 40 yards, he's onside. It's a great ball over the top. Great recovery, by the way. He gets in a good position, just he goes to pull the trigger. Lascelles does enough just to put him off. He's got away from Dan Burn. Lascelles gets across, just enough to put him off. He can't hit the target.
Coventry have taken the lead against Blackburn. Haji Wright with that one. So Coventry 1-0 up, and also Watford are down to 10 men at Sunderland. Ryan Andrews has been sent off. Sunderland are winning 2-0, and now a yellow card for Anthony Gordon for a challenge on I think it's Marquinhos, who was on the receiving end of that near the corner of the penalty area.
Unlucky. He's very unlucky. He goes for the ball, and then he actually takes a little bit of the ball. I think that's a good tackle. Modern day, unfortunately, it's not. So I wouldn't give him a yellow for that. He's very unlucky.
If you just joined us tonight, a tumultuous evening here at St James's Park. Newcastle were 3-0 up on Paris Saint-Germain. It's now 3-1. Almiron, Byrne and Longstaff the goal scorers, but Lucas Hernandez with that little glancing header And now Paris Saint-Germain are showing more of themselves. And Newcastle, who've put a great deal of energy into this match, have still got 20 minutes to go to claim this win.
I'll tell you what, if you're a French team watching this, if you hustle Paris, they don't like it, do they? They don't like being under pressure, and normally, as I say, France teams drop off because they respect them that much, to the talent they've got. Newcastle have said if you get among them, they don't like it.
Almiron has sat down on the ground. Lucas Hernandez trying to get him to get up. Murphy's going to come on for Newcastle. Jacob Murphy for Almiron.
For Newcastle coming up, number 24, Mickey Almiron.
So Almiron leaves the field.
And replacing him, number 23, Jacob Murphy.
But tonight, Miguel Almiron had the distinction of scoring Newcastle's first goal in the group stage of the Champions League for 20 years. And an excellent finish it was as well, after Isak's initial shot was saved to him. Right side of the area. It's a lovely finish on his left foot. And Jacob Murphy comes on. Probably needed that, Newcastle. Here's another player with a great deal of energy, Jacob Murphy. As Paris Saint-Germain win the ball back inside their own half. Barcola, Mbappe tries to play it back to...
He's actually caught him. Guimaraes caught him, I think, and he's took his shoe off. Look, he's putting it back on his boot.
Barcola. So it's out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle. One thing we've learned about Newcastle over the course of the last year or so, during the rise under Eddie Howe, who's talking away there with Jason Tindall, you can just see their heads over the top of the dugout down in front of us, how good they are at managing the game.
Very good.
One or two opposition managers, more than one or two, have had words to say about that as Newcastle play it forward themselves. But Vitinha will go back into central defence. And the full-time whistle has gone at Leicester with you, Charlie Slater.
Leicester 3, Preston 0. 9 wins in 10 league games for Leicester. Back-to-back defeats for Preston. All 3 goals in the second half. 2 from Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, 1 from Kelechi Iheanacho. And Leicester are back on top of the championship.
Ball given away by Cher. PSG on the edge of the area, but Cher makes up for that initial error and was able to challenge Dembele and clear the ball away. Now it's completely dry here tonight. The rain has moved away as Longstaff has it, but gives it away to Vitinha. Groans from the Newcastle United fans. However, Gordon, as Newcastle win it back, and then Anderson, long ball over the top through the middle, that's headed back by Lucas Hernandez, and Donnarumma coming right to the edge of the penalty area and allowing the ball to drop into his gloves under his chin.
Got to take your hat off to Newcastle. The energy levels are fantastic. I know they've made 2 or 3 substitutions, but they've never stopped.
We had quite enough taking hats off last weekend in Italy, Chris. Newcastle winning 3-1, and still RB Leipzig 1, Manchester City 1. Still Celtic 1, Lazio 1. And all of these matches now. Oh, there's been a goal at Celtic. Gavin Wallace.
There has indeed. It's came for Lewis Palmer with about 10 minutes to go, and so joined. The ball fell out to him. He's not on the park any more than 10 minutes himself. It fell out to him on the left-hand side of the box, and with the inside of his right foot, he blasted well beyond the Lazio goalkeeper. Celtic 2, Lazio 1.
Celtic back in front for the second time in the match. And that, I think, in terms of their Champions League prospects, they have to win that tonight against Lazio, who are struggling under Maurizio Sarri this season.
Yeah, you've got to win your home games, haven't you, in the Champions League? And we're looking at Newcastle tonight. A lot of people thought that, I did as well, I thought this would be a lot harder. And Newcastle have been brilliant. Their work rate, their game plan, work retreat, and they've unsettled Paris. And I thought a lot of these Paris players have gone missing.
However, they have improved in the match. And still now, with 15 minutes to play, and doubtless a stack of added time, still another goal for Paris Saint-Germain, and this could be very uncomfortable for Newcastle United. Eddie Howe's made the 2 changes so far. Whether he'll make any more, I think it's debatable. Vitinha, Paris Saint-Germain dominating the possession now. Gonzalo Ramos challenged by Dan Burn, and the ball spins away out to the far side for what is a throw into Newcastle, 10 yards away from the corner flag. QPR are now down to 10 men at Elland Road. Leeds are still 1-0 up on QPR, who are down to 10 men. Newcastle with a throw, level with the edge of their penalty area. The throw is flicked on to the halfway line, hooked forward by Skriniar, but straight out of play for a throw-in to Newcastle. They'll take that. Newcastle now suddenly dropped a walking pace as they walk up to where they're going to take this throw. Burn to Bruno Guimaraes, who I think didn't show his best form early in the season, but he's been very, very good tonight, the Brazilian in the centre of midfield. Here's Kieran Trippier on the right-hand side, carries the ball deep into PSG territory. A little shimmy of the hips from Longstaff, but Barcola wins the ball back from him, and Mbappe now, little steps from him, infield towards Zaire Emery. Now Gonzalo Ramos, Paris Saint-Germain pouring forward with Dembele on the right-hand side. Dembele to the edge of the box, then into Gonzalo Ramos. First time touch from him, lays it off straight into the path of Dan Burn, who's able to put it out of play. Oh, Celtic thought they were in front, Gavin Wallace.
Oh, they did, John, they did. Lewis Palmer's just strayed offside, and I mean very, very, very tight at that. So, Celtic won, Lazio won, 7 minutes to go, plus added time.
Yeah, the full-time whistles will be going in the Championship. Leicester have already won. Here's Dembele, lovely turn, shoots, saved by Pope, straight at him, but hit with pace. He threw up his arms, blocked it away, and the ball was cleared by Newcastle.
What a strike, Dembele, right foot, wasn't it? Straight at the goalie just as well. I think 2 yards out of the side, that's in the back of the net. Tremendous strike.
Ball still with PSG, it's out for a throw. What a turn that was from Dembele though, and the shot, fortunately for Newcastle, straight at goalkeeper Pope. Swansea City have beaten Norwich by 2-1, so that is 3 wins in a row now for Swansea in the Championship. Ball on the right-hand side, Dembele tries to take on Byrne, chipped it past him but chipped it out of play, and Dan Byrne leans over and picks up a water bottle and has a swig.
Well, he's you know, a lot of people question about playing left back, hasn't he? But he's done a terrific job for Newcastle United. Not just tonight, I mean, since he's went into that position. So, you know, he's played against some tasty wingers.
Yeah, it'd be a tasty meal, Dan Byrne, wouldn't he? It'd be a big meal. But he does well, doesn't he? He looks awkward, but in the main, he's handled him pretty well. 3-1 Newcastle. And I think Newcastle supporters who came here tonight with great expectations, it's been one to remember this, but there may be twists yet, as Zaire Emery once again runs from inside his own half. The 17-year-old Dembele, Mbappe couldn't get there in the middle. He put the burners on there. Mbappe introduced the pace, but just couldn't get to the ball that was played across by Dembele on the right-hand side. Still, Paris Saint-Germain putting pressure on, but Gordon is back, and Gordon has won the ball back from Dembele, and he's now going to carry it downfield, where he was fouled by Zaire Emery. Well played, Anthony Gordon. It has finished, in fact no, it's a late goal at Rotherham, where Bristol City have taken the lead. Rotherham 0, Bristol City 1. Tommy Conway has got that one, and Newcastle now taking their time over this free kick.
Yeah, Gordon's good at that, doesn't he? He runs the ball, feels a little bit of a challenge, and he goes down, and he's quite convincing, isn't he? But that last one, Dembele tried to find Mbappe across the box, just hit it too heavy.
Here's a message for the Paris Saint-Germain supporters, Chris. Oh, Mbappe is challenged by Lascelles on the halfway line, fair challenge, and then there is a follow-up challenge by Lascelles, fouls Zaire Emery, and the free kick is given. Actually, I think he did give it for the initial challenge on Jamal Lascelles. Kylian Mbappe, he didn't react to that. You know, he's used to that, like the great players like Ronaldo, like Lionel Messi. You know, they're used to that sort of treatment. He just gets up and gets back into position. Another goal in the Leipzig-Manchester City game. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Julian Alvarez off the bench to score an absolute beauty for Manchester City. It was Jeremy Doku, fellow substitute, bit of trickery down the left-hand side, cut the ball back to Alvarez on the edge of the box, quickly got it away from underneath his feet and curled a peach right into the top corner. Leipzig 1, Manchester City 2.
Huge cheers here because Zaire Emery has conceded a free kick, and it is halfway inside the Paris Saint-Germain half. Bruno Guimaraes, as Zaire Emery came in, Well, he made sure he got the free kick, Bruno Guimaraes. Yeah, I think it's the right decision.
It is a free kick. I don't know why he's staying down. I think he's got more time. He's probably got cramp.
I do. I know why he's staying down. Because they're 3-1 down, going on 3-2.
There's nothing wrong with the look. He's holding his foot. Look, he's up now. He's all right.
Yeah. Still Celtic 1, Lazio 1, Manchester City in front. Alvarez again, who started this season extremely well.
Yeah, good player.
A very good player. And Newcastle 3-1 up on Paris Saint-Germain. It's 2-0 at half-time. It went 3-0 early in the second half. Longstaff scoring underneath Donnarumma. The fourth goal for Newcastle. I mean, that would be absolute dreamland. Trippier clips this in from the left-hand side. It's headed by Bruno Guimaraes. He found the space in the middle, 8 yards out, headed it straight at Donnarumma.
Well, they did well there. They blocked 2 Paris Saint-Germain players off, and he should score.
And now at the other end, PSG break downfield. Barcola dances through a couple of challenges. Zaire Emery, low pass. Dembele now, little ball into the edge of the penalty area. Barcola, and then the ball from Hakimi on the right-hand side is cleared away on the corner of the 6-yard box and out for a throw. Into the last 10 minutes now. Actually, we're in the 82nd minute. There have been quite a lot of stoppages. I suspect we would see 6-7 minutes again added on at the end of this match. Coventry City have won. They've beaten Blackburn. So Coventry 1, Blackburn 0. That's 4 league defeats in a row for Blackburn now, as Anderson has the ball here just down in front of us, chips it forward, but Skriniar plays it back to Donnarumma, who brings the ball to a stop on the edge of the 6-yard box. Skriniar under pressure from Murphy. Murphy is still snapping away at the big Slovakian, who is able to chip it away to the halfway line. Comes back at the PSG defence. Lucas Hernandez clears it, comes back to Lucas Hernandez, passes it up the line. Barcola infield, Mbappe back into the path of Barcola. Lascelles gets the challenge in, shoulder to shoulder, went to ground and swept it out of play with his right foot.
Brilliantly well timed as well, because Barcola just had the legs on him slightly, but he timed it to perfection.
Mbappe, dangerous, cuts infield and then chips the ball out to the far side. Bounces up into the midriff of Dembele, then back to Hakimi. Hakimi's ball into Ramos inside the penalty area, but he was very well defended by Newcastle in there again. Defender was close to him. I think it was Cher who put in the challenge, and Newcastle were able to get it away. Sunderland have beaten Watford by 2-0, so that's 5 wins out of the last 6 for Tony Mowbray's side. Oh, Barcola, lovely. Down into the full-back position, into the penalty area. 2 Newcastle defenders with him, and between them, Murphy was actually back there helping out. They managed to get a deflection back to Pope.
Yeah, Barcola there, he's got to get his head up and make a decision. He's brilliant bit of skill to get into the box, but never gets his head up.
A late equaliser for Rotherham. Having conceded the goal, Tyler Blackett has made it Rotherham 1, Bristol City 1 in the Championship. Get you the full-time scores in the Championship. All of the final whistles will be going in the 7:45 matches. We've got 6 minutes to go. 6 minutes for Newcastle to hang on for what will be their first win in the group, their first win in the Champions League for 20 years. Here, Isak picks up the ball on the edge of the penalty area on his right foot, shoots straight at Donnarumma, who's able to drop down, bend his knees and claim the ball into his chest, and then quickly overarm it out to Lucas Hernandez, who's over the halfway line, goes down rather theatrically. Challenge from Murphy. It's given us a free kick.
That's terrible, that. Look, he's straight up as well. How do the referees buy that? Absolutely unbelievable.
Free kick taken short. Vitinha, now Marquinhos joins in. There's Dembele with his heels on the white line on the far side, comes infield. Vitinha's 25 yards out. He goes cross-field to the left-hand side. Barcola chests that down. He's brought real energy. And now Mbappe shoots right-footed. He's saying it took a deflection off Longstaff, I think. But referee Kovac is having none of that, just walks away from him. And even though Kylian Mbappe is following him, pointing, and then just sort of flips his wrist.
It didn't look like a deflection from where we were, but he struck it well enough, but was never going on target. A very quiet game. Newcastle have done a job on him tonight.
Kylian Mbappe, I remember that amazing game when he scored his first Champions League goal at the Etihad for Monaco. He scored against Manchester City at the Etihad. He scored against Manchester United at Old Trafford. He scored against Liverpool at Anfield in the Champions League, Kylian Mbappe, but not yet on the score sheet at St James's Park. Ball is played back to Donnarumma with less than 5 minutes of the 90 to go. That's given away by Skriniar, and then it's given away by Newcastle to the dangerous Barcola, who's running free, and Barcola then plays it to Mbappe, stretch from him into the area on the left hand side. Trippier's there, he's got 3 Newcastle players in front of him. Mbappe back to Vitinha with a drive over the top of the crossbar into the Leazes end.
Great play by Barcola. He's done very lively since he come on his left side of midfield, left wing, but Mbappe there showing a bit of class, rolls it into his back. He's just got to hit the target high, well high.
Yeah, if only it was Chorley.
Well, that's
but it's
it.
not.
That's it.
I see the Newcastle media team are just getting to their feet. That's an indicator that the final whistle isn't far away. Victory for Newcastle not far away. Although the Newcastle media team tonight, without their head of media, Lee Marshall, on this night of nights, he's not here for a very good reason, because he became a father last night. So congratulations to Lee and Laura, and welcome to the world, Billy. They've left it 24 hours. They could have called him Miguel, Dan or Sean in honour of the Newcastle goal scorers.
They call them all 3.
Another goal in the RB Leipzig Manchester City match. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Manchester City have wrapped up the win in added time. Jeremy Doku dancing away in celebration, released by Julian Alvarez. Leipzig pushing forward, they got caught out and Doku finished coolly. Leipzig 1, City 3.
So Manchester City making it 2 wins out of 2 in the group. Red Star Belgrade 2, Young Boys 2. So Red Star Belgrade drawing level in that match. That's also in the Manchester City group. Incidentally, it is still Borussia Dortmund 0, Milan 0 in this group, which is a good result. It's always a good result, isn't it, when the other teams in the group draw their matches. Newcastle's next matches are against Dortmund, the 2 Dortmund games. First here at St James's Park, which is due to be a 5 Live commentary, as the ball is played forward by Lucas Hernandez, but Trippier does well, stepped across. He's had a right challenge tonight against Mbappe and then against Barcola, who's been a real handful since he's come onto the field. Now it's on the right hand side. The Geordie fans trying to do their bit here at St James's Park. Vitinha on the edge of the area. Mbappe had no chance with that. Played it back to Vitinha, and Newcastle are able to play it downfield for Isak to chase, who's, I've only just noticed, got rid of his bandage.
Yeah, if you play it in the space, I think he catches that. Guimaraes is really suffering from cramp. He's just been grabbing his toes there, and look, he's limping around. Who's Newcastle got the weekend?
West Ham away on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. David Moyes will be licking his lips. Although West Ham, of course, play tomorrow night. They're in Germany to play Freiburg. Here's Kylian Mbappe inside the penalty area, trying to find a way through. Defender goes to ground. Kylian Mbappe still in there. The referee says he fouled Gordon, and it's a free kick to Newcastle inside their own penalty area. Leeds United have won. They've beaten QPR only by 1-0, but Leeds still unbeaten at home. And we will go to Glasgow and Gavin Wallace. What's the news, Gavin?
It's heartache for Celtic. Celtic 1, Lazio 2. John Pedro Rodriguez with a header at the back post. Celtic didn't clear the lines. It all came from a Cameron Carter-Vickers mistake in the middle of the park. It was played out wide, and your man was there at the back post to head home, well beyond Joe Hart. The Lazio team and staff are going absolute crazy. Celtic 1, Lazio 2.
And that's going to make it very, very difficult for Celtic to qualify. No points from their first 2 matches unless they can get something in the final minutes. I think Manchester City have won. It's all over. Is it, Alistair Bruce Ball?
Full-time whistle's just gone. 2 goals in the last 8 minutes have won it for Manchester City. Goals from Alvarez and Doku, both coming off the bench to seal the win. 2 wins out of 2 at the start of this group stage. Leipzig 1, City 3.
We are in the 90th minute here at St James's Park. What a night it's been. I think they'll be staying open as long as they can, all of the various establishments in central Newcastle tonight, whether down on the quayside or in the city centre. As Newcastle have the ball down in the PSG right back area. In fact, it went out of play for a goal kick. 5 minutes. Thought it might be more than that. Paris Saint-Germain fans way up there. Actually, they're so far away we can't see what sort of reaction there is. As PSG take the goal kick short at the back, and Newcastle brilliantly win it back. Excellent work, Murphy. Now the shot. Oh, it's in! Fabian Schär finishes it off for Newcastle. What a shot! He rifled it into the top corner, and Donnarumma, even at full extension to his left, couldn't get near it, and it's 4-1. What a night for Newcastle. What a night for the return of the Champions League to St James's Park. 4-1 against the French champions, Kylian Mbappe and all. And what a night this will be on Tyneside. Newcastle United 4, Paris Saint-Germain 1.
Unbelievable. What a strike. I mean, I don't know how he's up there anyway. He wins the ball, he gets involved in the play, he follows it, he gets the ball back and he bends it as he's reaching for it. He falls over as he kicks it. There's enough bend and pace and whip. Donnarumma, who's a top-class goalie, can't get anywhere near it. He's just stretching as he hits it. He hits the deck. That is going in the top corner, and it is. You've got to say, overnight, Newcastle United have thoroughly deserved this victory.
Well, what a night. Oh, what a night. 4-1. And they're on the way to victory now. You know, for a little while there, it was in the balance. But 4-1 in added time. We've got 3 minutes of added time to go, and now the flags are out. It's all black and white now. The flag's being waved in every stand, in every section of the home stands. Paris Saint-Germain come forward, but I think Luis Enrique down there knows the game is up. PSG know the game is up. And Matt Targett is going to come on. Eddie Howe, who when that fourth goal went in, stood with his arms raised.
Number 10, Anthony Gordon.
So Anthony Gordon, who will actually be suspended in the Premier League at the weekend, so he can't play at West Ham, but he's going to bring on another man at the back.
Number 13, Matt Targett.
So Matt Targett gets a taste of the Champions League. And PSG with a corner on the right. A late goal at Rotherham in the 8 o'clock kick-off. Bristol City are back in front. Tommy Conway scored again. Rotherham 1, Bristol City 2. 5 Live Sport on air tonight until 10:30, of course. Corner is taken short, and it's shepherded behind by Murphy. Mbappe and Murphy together. It bounces behind. That's actually given us a free kick in the full-back position. So we'll have reflections on all of tonight's football after 10 o'clock on 5 Live, and you'll be able to hear all the reaction on the 5 Live Football Daily podcast from BBC Sounds in the morning. Paris Saint-Germain, as Anthony Gordon is cheered and applauded all the way around the pitch, making his way to the Newcastle United bench. Mbappe waits to take this. Actually, he's going to take the free kick himself, which he flicks across right foot, and it's headed away by Schär. Only out to the edge of the area, headed back in by Hakimi. Isak gets his leg to it. Dan Burn gets up to head it out of play for a throw on the far side. I make it we've got 1 minute to play, Chris Waddle.
Oh, well, I mean, I can hardly see all these flags flying around. God, it's not summer, though, they're big moths.
That's actually being waved over our heads here. As PSG through the middle with Vitinha, right-footed ball out to the right-hand side. Takes that down. Here's the cross, left-footed all the way across the 6-yard box and beyond the far post and through for a goal kick. But you know, there'll be generations of Newcastle United fans who'll have brought their children here tonight and have talked to them about the days that Newcastle played in the Champions League famously under Sir Bobby Robson, and some of the great nights and what it might be like tonight. Come here to watch Mbappe. I don't know what Kieran Trippier's son Jacob will be thinking of this.
Listen, they've been absolutely brilliant, Newcastle, tonight. They work right there. organisation, their desire, their passion. It's everything. You look at Paris Saint-Germain, yes, on paper they might have better individuals in a lot of places, positions, but if you haven't got the right attitude and the desire, it just shows you what you can do.
This is the new Newcastle, without question, back in the Champions League and winning handsomely in the Champions League against a club like this, Paris Saint-Germain. Vitinha shoots from distance, but well wide of the left post as he looked at it, and I think that will be it. We've had our 5 minutes and plenty more. Be interesting to see Eddie Howe's reaction tonight. You know, he generally stays very level, doesn't he?
I think he will. I think he realises that it's a game, it's a win, it's a great win, and he knows there's a long way to go. And now we'll be looking at Dortmund, I would think, next, is it?
Yep, Dortmund here. That's the next match. Already it would seem 4 points from the first 2 matches. And there is the full-time whistle. And St James's Park celebrates a famous night. Back in the Champions League, here on their home ground, for the first time for 20 years. And this is a night, this is a win that will go down in Newcastle United folklore. Kylian Mbappe and Paris Saint-Germain come to Tyneside and Newcastle beat them 4-1, Chris.
Absolutely brilliant. You can't praise Newcastle enough. Every one of them's been, hey, they put that shirt on, they've worked, got the rewards, they've shown some great goals, some great movements in the game, great passages of play, but Paris for me, big letdown. Too many egos, too many individuals still at the club. It's all about Newcastle United. Absolutely top draw.
A wonderful night for the black and white. Goals from Almiron, Vernon Longstaff, 2 of the Geordies, and Fabian Schär. Lucas Hernandez made it 3-1, and for a little while we were wondering if PSG had been able to get another goal, but they didn't. That rifling effort from Schär wrapped it up. And the celebrations are going on in the stands all around us here. The flags are flying, and Newcastle now have made a roaring start back in the Champions League for the first time for 20 years. Newcastle United 4, Paris Saint-Germain 1.
There's just a mixture of joy and what I would say is disbelief when the cameras pick out various Newcastle fans in the St James's Park crowd. They've stayed to a man, woman and child. The flags are continuing to wave as they dance along to status quo. I have to say, John Murray, I love watching Eddie Howe on a night like this, because inside he's probably wanted to skip across that pitch like David Pleat 40 years ago at Maid Road, but externally he has to remain very cool and calm.
Well, actually, when Schär's goal hit the net, Eddie Howe threw both arms up into the air and there was a big smile on his face, but that's about as much as you get from him. And I'm just watching him now. The Newcastle players, as they do after every game here actually, are going around the ground, but especially tonight. But he's just a part of it. He's just going across there to Fabian Schär, who scored that 4th goal. Dan Burn as well. I mean, for Dan Burn tonight, and for Longstaff as well, to be among the goal scorers on this night of nights, and he's chatting away to him, and the two of them are really enjoying the moment together.
Well, that's it, isn't it, Chris? I mean, we've had Dan Burn on the Monday Night Club a couple of times. He was one of those first signings that January when it was all about, are they going to get in the right characters for a relegation battle? You know, a Newcastle fan as a kid, and then he goes and scores the header that he scores against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League. And John's right, you throw Longstaff in there as a boyhood Newcastle fan who's come through the ranks there. It's fairy tale stuff tonight, it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the game was built up, wasn't it? That, you know, it was all about Paris coming here and can Newcastle handle Mbappe, can they handle Dembele, can they handle Ramos? And they've handled them easy. They've been outstanding, and they're a unit. Newcastle are a team. You know, sometimes you look at certain players and teams and say he's the difference. I think with Newcastle it's purely about the team. I wouldn't say there was I think they've got good players, and I wouldn't say there was a player the team's built around and the team rely on. I think they all put a shift in and they're all together and they play for the shirt. And it showed tonight. You know, yeah, you can have some of the best players in the world, or rated the best players in the world. You haven't got the right attitude and the desire and the passion. It just shows you Newcastle were a team tonight, and they were brilliant.
Ben Mee with us as well. I tell you what, Ben, if your centre-half pings one in from 25 yards in the closing stages to take you 4-1 up, you know it's been a good night, don't you?
Yeah, what a way to wrap it up, eh? It's not the first time he's done that either. You know he's got it in the locker, but huge performance. You know, what a night. And Chris said it, the togetherness there was on show, and really pleased for Eddie what he's building there, what he's built there. A night like tonight, we need to enjoy it, and yeah, what an absolute fantastic performance, and the scenes in the ground and, you know, on the pitch of fantastic to see.
Well, I mean, Chris is right, isn't it, when he talks about the team ethic? We could tonight pick out any of the outfield 10. Really, I'm not doing Nick Pope a disservice there, but any of that outfield 10, we could sit and have a 5-10 minute discussion on this evening.
100%. You saw, 3-1 up, 4-1 up. Players getting back into position. There was a black and white wall on the edge of that box, and they weren't getting past. And Anthony Gordon's there, winning free kicks, winning the ball, and helping out his fullback when he needed it as well. And fantastic team performance, togetherness, and going along with the quality of the goals as well. And that little bit of quality added to the togetherness as well. It creates a really good mix, and they've got a fantastic team there, and a few players to come back as well to make it even tougher.
They're all walking directly towards us now, the Newcastle players who are heading to the tunnel, and they're all looking, I think, up to their family and friends in the stands, sitting behind us in the director's box area. Lots of smiling faces. Nick Pope, who was beaten tonight for just the one goal conceded in 6 matches. Kieran Trippier as well, punching the air with both fists. Miguel Almiron's been given a little trophy, which must be for the man of the match.
It is the man of the match, yes.
Little silver ball.
Yeah, he's played well, but who didn't? Tell me who didn't play well. That could have went to anybody, that. They've all been outstanding. What a team unit. The work rate and their camaraderie togetherness is absolutely a joy to watch.
And the only 2 players who are left out on the pitch now are 2 of the goal scorers, Dan Burn and Sean Longstaff, who are being brought to do interviews. But how appropriate that they're on the field as local hero players.
Well, they'll never forget.
And they should.
Sorry, Mark.
No, and nor should they, Chris, and they should absolutely milk it, because I know what's going to happen. The celebration police will be on going, they're behaving like they've won the Champions League, blah, blah. And really? Actually, it's utterly irrelevant. There will be, John. You know how this works. No, that's not me.
I think that would be cheerless to do that.
Which was why I was highlighting it and saying that isn't fair. They should be absolutely revelling in this. And you will know, Ben, because you will have had it in your career with fan bases. That connection between players and fans is very special at the moment between Newcastle and these players.
Without that, Mark. I think you see the scenes in the crowd, on the pitch, the players walking around, doing that lap of honour, celebrating a famous night, an enjoyable night, and one to remember. And you've got to enjoy it for sure.
Chris?
Yeah, most definitely. Listen, from the first minute of this game, they were on it. They were focused. They worked right. They closed them down. They didn't let the players who we talked about before the game, who can hurt you, they didn't let them play. They didn't give them a sniff. And then they sort of lost their belief, lost their confidence. They started sulking a bit, I thought, some of the players. And Newcastle just played from the first minute to the 95th minute, and they worked and worked and worked, and they got their rewards, and they were far better than Paris Saint-Germain tonight. And then driving here today, I couldn't see that. I thought Newcastle would work hard, and I thought Paris would have that extra bit of class, but it hasn't shown. And you've got to say, Paris Saint-Germain have got too many individuals.
Well, I was talking to Julien Laurent when I saw him a couple of weeks ago at Arsenal, and we were talking about this match, Paris Saint-Germain. He knows them. I know you watch them a lot, Chris, as well as you do French football. That he said, the real mixed bag from them this season. Yeah. You don't really know what you're going to get from them.
Well, you've seen that in the results. They've hammered Marseille, then they've They drew with the bottom team 0-0 last weekend there. And
lost at home to Nice.
Yes, they lost 3-2 to Nice, and they've come here tonight and got absolutely hammered, let's be honest. Newcastle absolutely hammered them. And I don't know what he'll be saying in the changing room. I don't know what he'll say, because he's got a certain style of playing, Enrique. It'll be interesting to see how the fans react to them on the weekend, because they do let them know when they're not playing.
Do you think, Ben, well, we'll never know, will we, but whether they underestimated Newcastle? I mean, you've got the pictures on there. Mbappe at the end, I don't know if you saw it, sort of blew a raspberry kind of thing. He sort of went like that and raised his eyebrows a couple of times as he came off the pitch, as if he was slightly shocked.
Yeah, possibly. I think they were shell shocked from the first 5 minutes. They had a decent start, but yeah, from then on they looked shell shocked. They probably come here thinking they could play the football, and the manager putting out an attacking side, and probably not realising the quality that the Newcastle side possesses, as well as the hard work and the togetherness that they've become known for over the past couple of years. And but that mixed with the crowd on top of them, the hostile environment that was created, and that energy that was sort of passed on to the players, that little mix there has caused a really tough night for him. He was out of the game most of the time, and Nick Pope's, I think, made one save in the whole game.
Alan Shearer's tweeted, hangover coming, what a performance, man. Sean Longstaff has said to television, I think we knew as a group it was going to be special, the atmosphere and stuff. For me and Bernie to score, pretty special, lost for words. I think we probably weren't going to have a drink on a Wednesday night, but I think that will change now. David Moyes will be rubbing his hands at that way. Is that what you said, John? West Ham Newcastle on Sunday?
That's right. Although they're in Germany, they play Freiburg tomorrow night. But yes, I'm sure that he won't have quibbled at all with the sort of match and the energy that the mental energy that it must have expended tonight, the Newcastle players.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, that's the hardest part. They were totally focused tonight. Now they've got to come down from this for the weekend. Yeah, enjoy tonight. By all means, I'm sure he's saying having a few drinks, whatever. It'll be basically a loosener tomorrow, a few massages between now and Sunday, and then they have to go again. But this team's a unit, and you wouldn't put them past getting a result at West Ham on Sunday.
Talk me through that mental energy required, Ben, because it was backs against the wall for periods in that second half.
Yeah, it'll take a while to come down from that. The adrenaline will have been pumping from the word go, especially with the atmosphere that was created. But yeah, they'll come down, and like Chris said, it'll be a relaxed couple of days. Especially for 2 days coming, and then Sunday, is a game against a team that is coming off a trip to Germany. So they'll have to get ready for that. But I think it'll be quite an equal game, and the lads will enjoy tonight, I'm sure, and say recover, massages, etc. and things like that. But no, as a player coming down from that, it'll take a while, and a few of the boys won't be getting to sleep anytime soon. I find it hard after the evening games to sleep and get some kip.
I think as well that he hasn't got a lot of players to juggle with for the weekend. There's still a lot of injuries at this football club.
Yeah, Gordon's suspended as well at the weekend.
Gordon's suspended, and West Ham have got quite a big squad now after some of their signings they've made, so it will be more difficult on Sunday, but they've got this togetherness up here, and they'll give a good account of themselves, I'm sure.
I think what this does do, we were talking about this, Chris, weren't we, before the match, about how you say it's different playing in European football.
Yeah.
So if tonight had gone against them, then that's mental, isn't it? And are we the same? Can we be the same in the Champions League? And the proof tonight that they can be.
Yeah, they can. Listen, coming here is the atmosphere, we've got to say, was absolutely outstanding, and they've come against a team who've had a funny start of the season. They've not been what people thought, even though they've spent a lot of money again, Paris. But you're still looking, Paris's problem being the last 2-3 seasons has been too many individuals, people who basically don't want, when they put the shirt on, don't give 110%. Where you look at Newcastle, you put Newcastle on the night there, everyone who's got a black and white shirt on is giving 110%, if not more. So their desire and their passion gets them through as well. I'm not saying that they didn't have quality, they did. But Paris, yes, they have got a lot of quality among them, but if it's not going their way, you get 4 or 5 of them who just basically they just think, no, it's not for me tonight.
I think the other thing, Mark, is that, I remember hearing you say it last season when Newcastle were getting towards the point where they were getting close to qualification for the Champions League and then got there. I remember you saying, I remember us all saying, that's going to be really special when it comes to that first night, that first home match at St James's Park in the Champions League. And the great thing for Newcastle and this club is that on the night, it's actually exceeded expectations.
Yeah, because it could have very easily, Ben, been an anticlimax, couldn't it?
It could have, yeah, I agree. But no, it's turned out to be an amazing night, a memorable night, and the performance on the pitch, it'll give these players so much confidence. Being able to perform on such a high, a big stage, and performing like they did will give a massive boost for all them players. Especially the likes of Sean Longstaff and Jamal Lascelles was fantastic tonight as well. He had a great game coming in. Not played many games recently, and had a superb game. So plenty to build on for him and for a lot of the players.
Yeah, first time playing in the Champions League for him. Champions League debut.